Drinking.samhsa.gov.
When you need me, I'll be by your side.
Honey, I can't deal with this kitchen anymore. It's cramped and everything is outdated.
I know, but it makes no sense to move. I could call my contractor buddy Chad.
Babe, you've seen Chad's house, right?
Yeah, good point.
Plus, he showed up late for his own wedding. Let's get someone who's reliable.
How about Forever Remodeling? They have a team of interior designers, master installers, and project managers all under one roof.
Their reviews on Google look amazing, and homeowners post a ton of pictures of their work.
It looks like they even offer 3D rendering of their projects.
Just like my TV design shows.
Exactly.
Plus, AM 560 listeners get a free in-home design consultation.
From kitchens to bathrooms, basements to whole homes, the design build team at Forever Remodeling takes the stress out of remodeling. They're done on time and guaranteed to match your vision. Visit them online at foreverremodeling.com. That's the number 4everremodeling.com. Forever Remodeling, stress-free and high-quality remodeling.
Whether you are old or young, no one likes to lose money. The market is at an all-time high. How much risk does your portfolio really have in it? Are you worried that you could lose your hard-earned money? Call TJ Stearns in Arlington Heights at 800-640-2256 for your free risk report. Call right now and we will include a full analysis of your portfolio. Don't wait until it's too late. Call TJ Stearns, a local and longtime sponsor on AM 560. Call 800-640-2256. Call now and tell him AM 560 sent you.
Foundations of Freedom, a look at America's founding principles and the leaders who shaped our nation.
In 1783, the Revolutionary War was nearly over, but America's future remained uncertain. Officers in the Continental Army were angry. Congress had failed to provide promised pay, and some considered using the Army's power to force the government's hand. George Washington understood their frustration, but he also knew the liberty they had fought to win could be destroyed by the very army that secured it. Washington confronted his officers and urged them to choose honor, patience, and loyalty to the Republic over rebellion. He could have used their anger to increase his own power. Instead, he used his influence to restrain it. Power asks what it can take. Character asks what duty requires. Washington's lesson still stands. Freedom survives when leaders place principle above ambition and remain faithful to God, country, and the people they serve.
Hey Chicagoland, Jeff from Jeff Buys Your House. The military taught me that every mission is different. You assess the situation, listen to your team, then execute a plan built around what's needed. Same with helping families sell their homes. Whether it's an inherited house, a parent needing senior living, or life's just taking you in a new direction, we don't show up with a one-size-fits-all answer. We start by listening. What's your timeline? What are you worried about? What would make this easier? Then we build a solution around your needs. No repairs or cleanout are necessary. You pick the timeline that works for you, keep your memories, and we handle everything else. Since 2007, our veteran-led team has earned hundreds of 5-star reviews by doing exactly that, listening first, and treating every family with respect. If you're ready for a no-obligation conversation, call us at 630-895-9530. That's 630-895-9530 or jeffbuysyourhouse.com. That's jeffbuysyourhouse.com.
Hey, it's Scott Tucker and my new co-host,
Amy Jacobson,
on AM 560. We wanted you to know that we have a special show every Sunday morning at 7 a.m. here on AM 560, The Answer. It is Retirement Dakota with Scott Tucker and
Amy Jacobson.
It's every Sunday morning from 7 to 9 a.m. 2-hour show, 2-hour radio extravaganza. Amy, we're going to tantalize the listening public and the listening private with all kinds of retirement planning information. So tune in at AM 560 Sunday mornings at 7 a.m.
To have a roof over your head, a nice roof over your head, is very important.
That's Rick talking about his experience with Rhino Shield ceramic coating.
We got Rhino Shield 18 years ago, and they were very cooperative on getting us the right paint. They were in and out and done in no time. Once it was finished, looked great. We were very happy with it.
The main reason Rick called Rhino Shield is because Rhino Shield is backed by a 25-year warranty.
We've watched a lot of people get their house painted 3 or 4 times, and we haven't had to do any of it. I don't know about you guys, but I don't want to have to paint it every 5-7 years.
Take a tip from Rick. Put down that paintbrush and pick up your phone. Give Rhino Shield a call at 847-850-1132. Call now and receive 10% off the regular price. Or go to ChicagoRhinoShield.com.
We got Rhino Shield 18 years ago. Financially makes sense, especially if it's going to last like this did. Still looks great.
For your 10% off, call now, 847-850-1132, or go to ChicagoRhinoShield.com.
Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
This is Seth Leibson for Townhall.com. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez recently told a credulous Jonathan Karl of ABC that Woke 1.0 was crazy when asked about certain Democratic Socialists of America's candidates' positions from the recent past. She then went on to state, quote, "During COVID, there was a huge opening of the Overton window. We were shut down. I think that during lockdown, rhetoric in that time is not rhetoric that we would use today," close quote. It didn't occur to Karl to ask what COVID had to do with nostrums, like abolishing the police, men could be women, Thanksgiving should be canceled, riots from the left were peaceful. Of course, the answer is nothing. And if Woke 1.0 is now passé, why? And is it better than Woke 2.0, which now includes defending and marching for terrorist organizations, including the day after they slaughtered hundreds of innocents, including dozens of Americans? AOC is a member of the DSA. Their party has a number of Marxist caucuses today. If Woke 1.0 is outdated, beware Woke 2.0. It's better labeled Marxist Islamism.
For over 40 years, the Heartland Institute has stood for the ideas that built this country: free markets, limited government, and individual freedom. Now you're invited to celebrate that legacy in person. Join Heartland on Thursday, September 3rd, for their 42nd anniversary benefit dinner at the historic Palmer House Hilton in downtown Chicago, one of the city's most iconic addresses for over 150 years. This year's keynote speaker is Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, who has led Florida through 2 terms of record economic growth, making it one of the fastest growing states in the nation. The evening kicks off with a reception at 5, dinner at 6, an evening of great company, great conversation, and a shared belief in the principles that made America exceptional. Seats are limited, and they will go fast. Reserve yours today at benefit.heartland.org. That's benefit.heartland.org. The Heartland Institute's 42nd Anniversary Benefit Dinner, September 3rd, Palmer House Hilton, Chicago. Don't just believe in freedom, celebrate it.
Now, your official weather forecast.
Today will be mainly cloudy and humid with a chance of a thunderstorm in some areas late this morning. This will be followed by periods of rain, at times heavy, and another thunderstorm in the afternoon. Be cautious as there may be ponding on streets and highways. The high temperature will reach 77 degrees. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Goldilocks, offering smart security systems to homes and businesses. Call Goldilocks at 708-889-5600.
Now, from the Signature, a division of Esquire Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. So yesterday, importantly, an indictment against one of the higher-ups at the Southern Poverty Law Center, following up on that wide-ranging investigation that was launched per uncovering that SPLC, this hate watchdog, as they fashioned themselves for so many years, was actually financing the hate they were supposedly interdicting to provide rationale for their existence. You know, when there is less hate, and hate is your business, identifying it, frankly, perpetrating it, you better engineer it. And that's exactly what they did. But it turns out that runs afoul of the law when you set up fraudulent businesses and you make fraudulent transactions against a fraudulent, in pursuit of a fraudulent boogeyman. Their former CFO and Director of Intelligence, there's an oxymoron, Director of Intelligence at the SPLC, Heidi Beirich, picked off, indicted on money laundering, wire fraud charges. Todd Blanche, the now newly minted Attorney General, commenting yesterday.
Yes, today, my understanding is today there was an arrest made, and there is a new indictment that includes the former CFO of SPLC. I don't have any comments about whether we've said from the beginning, everybody, not just me, but anybody who's talked about this case, like virtually every criminal case, the fact that an indictment is returned doesn't end the investigation. It's just part of the investigation in most cases, which is certainly true in this case. I think, as alleged in the indictment, this individual participated in the scheme as alleged. I believe she was part of the effort to open bank accounts in completely fictitious companies' names and make payments to individuals for reasons that were not accurate as described.
So wire fraud conspiracy, conspiracy to submit false statements to a federally insured bank, conspiracy to commit concealment, money laundering. And Miss Byrick, I mean, the clips from her are just so rich. Back in 2016.
By taking their money away, they can't function anymore.
And that was successful?
Yes, every single one of them has been successful. Obviously, when these groups don't have money, that means there's less violence that they can perpetrate. You know, the whole idea is to not allow them to function.
Right. And so by not allowing them to function and taking their money away, she funneled $1.2 million into neo-Nazi organizations, allegedly. Take their money away so that we can put it in to prop them up and manufacture their existence and, you know, relevant presence. She testified back in 2020 in a congressional hearing about alleged white supremacy in the military. You know, it's everywhere when money's on the line.
So I think that there's a big problem here in trying to figure out how many investigations go on of this, who is identifying extremists, how is this being reported. There is supposedly a report the Pentagon does every year internally on white supremacy in the military. Is that happening? What is it indicating? I mean, it's very hard to answer your question because there's no transparency and no data.
Yeah, right. But we'll insinuate the assertion, because it's great for the next fundraising missive we set up. By the way, we also find out that, according to the indictment, Ms. Bayrak was in a relationship with F9, Federal Informant 9, an informant in the neo-Nazi group National Alliance. During the relationship, Bayrak and F9 shared a house and 2 bank accounts. Well, isn't that cozy? And if you've seen Heidi Bayrak, how desperate is F9? I'd like to see what F9 looks like. The important thing here, though, is the follow-up. This is not an inconsequential organization. This is an organization that was, frankly, sanctioned by federal government agencies to go after conservative groups. Their hate map, their targeting of pro-life organizations, of Turning Point USA. Basically, they used hate as a synonym for conservative, and they got... and not just the usual suspects on the left to finance them to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars, but they were incorporated in gaslighting and politicizing federal law enforcement agencies. Don't forget, Chris Wray invited SPLC in to help his agents at the time when he was FBI director, better understand this greatest domestic threat facing America, which was allegedly white supremacy. The white supremacy that SPLC was manufacturing. Ersatz, every which way. Let's check the headlines with Mike Scott.
Dan, good morning. 71 degrees in our QC Kinetics newsroom. 3 were shot, 1 killed, driving on Chicago's South Side. Early this morning, it happened around 3 a.m. near 71st and Champlain. A 54-year-old man was rushed to the University of Chicago Trauma Center and later died. Crews continue to assess damage caused by storms that struck the Chicago area on Tuesday. The National Weather Service now confirms at least 5 tornadoes struck the area. A woman is dead after being hit by roofing material in Gary during Tuesday's storms. Paula Plebonsky was hit by the roofing material from a nearby store in the 5200 block of East Dunes Highway. Indiana Governor Mike Braun met with mayors and emergency personnel dealing with storm cleanup in the northwest part of that state.
All of our resources will be attentive. We were up here yesterday, and we will pour the coals to it to make sure that we get things back in order. Again, up here, it's going to be power restoration. a lot of cleanup. As you go south, it's going to be more involving damage from heavy rain.
250,000 NIPSCO customers remain without power this morning in what is being called the largest power outage in company history. The woman who died in a house explosion in Portage, Indiana, is being identified. The blast happened in the 6600 block of Harrison. The victim, 88-year-old Leona Rice. Staying in Northwest Indiana, Bears executives are expected to deliver an update today on the team's stadium plans, which officials in Indiana say continue to center on Hammond, where there is ongoing due diligence at multiple locations. Hammond Mayor Thomas McDermott.
And I do know there's extensive testing going on. Even right now, I had one of the local businesses in the new footprint call me and say, hey, they're boring holes currently. So that's the issue of the day between us and the Bears.
Indiana Governor Mike Braun, who visited Hammond to assess storm damage, reiterated his confidence in the Bears Stadium project.
When we get this across the finish line, we're in the due diligence stage. It's going to be one of the biggest things that's ever occurred to our state, not to mention the region. So we're doing everything you need to do to make sure we get it done.
You recall Bears chairman George McCaskey said this on Monday in a story first reported by NBC5.
We're doing some due diligence on a second site in Hammond, and I think Kevin and I will have more to report in the coming days.
Team sources downplay the significance of today's update, describing it as a usual preseason availability for Bears executives. Chicago sports, week 1 of the NFL preseason is here. 6 games are on the slate today. Elsewhere, the Bears entertain the Browns Saturday. Cubs got a signature performance from Alex Bregman in a 12-6 dismantling of the Nationals from D.C.
Dansby has done it. Pete's certainly done it. Ian's done it. And Saya's done it. So it's pretty cool. And it's a great game. And definitely drove the bus today.
He did drive the bus. Alex Bregman with 3 home runs in the game, 7 RBI in the Cubs win. The Northsiders go for the sweep in the nation's capital this afternoon. White Sox 2 hit the Reds, 5-0 at home, and newcomer Luis Castillo gave up just 1 base knock, while 2 walks, striking out 10, and the Southsiders go for the series this afternoon. And NBA point guard Russell Westbrook is retiring after 18 seasons. The 2017 MVP drafted by the Seattle Supersonics after the Bulls took Derrick Rose, number 1 overall in that draft. The news service of the Chicago Public Schools. This school year, Dare to Dream Big. Grades K through 12 are back in class on Monday, August 24. Learn more at cps.edu/B2S. And don't forget, CPS families ride free on the CTA and Metra. Dan Proft and Chicago's Morning Answer continue next. And in 2 minutes, we'll have a check of your AccuWeather forecast in the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Mike Gallagher can see what's happening.
The left and the Democrats think we're crazy for rolling out MAGA. They think we're the fascists, we're off the charts, we're off the rails, we're wild-eyed and crazy. And so their response is, let's be even crazier. Let's actually embrace literal communism.
The Mike Gallagher Show. Weekdays at 9 on AM 560. The Answer.
And now it's time for the Cat's Corner.
I want to share with you what keeps me up at 3 o'clock in the morning. Nothing more important than feeling safe for your wife, your kids, and your grandkids. People should be able to ride the subways, the trains, the buses, walk home after work, and not be worried about somebody stabbing them in the back. They should be able to operate their businesses, whether small, medium, or large, without worrying about crime. Whether you're Democrat, Independent, or Republican. It doesn't matter. I looked it up. The principles of the Fifth Amendment and 14th Amendments in the Constitution remind us that justice depends on due process and equal protections for all people under the law. Public safety is the strongest when laws are enforced fairly. No matter what your politics, public safety is always to be a priority. It's part of our Constitution. Let's all have confidence in the United States of America. I'm John Catsimatidis, and that's the Cat's Corner.
Identity theft can cost more than you think. Drained investment accounts, stolen tax returns, lost wages, expenses for lawyers. It's a lot. That's why LifeLock is backed by the $1 Million Protection Package, which covers up to $1 million for stolen funds, fees, and experts and lawyers, and out-of-pocket expenses. Don't face the burden of identity theft alone. Protect your future and finances with LifeLock. Join now. Save up to 30% off your first year with promo code BECK at LifeLock.com. 1-800-LifeLock, promo code BECK. LifeLock.com. Terms to apply.
Ice Cube's Big 3 season is heating up, and it all comes down to this. The Big 3 playoffs are coming to Dallas, Texas. The 4 best teams in the Big 3 battle it out for a spot in the championship. The action starts with the legendary Big 3 Celebrity Game. 3 games of the most physical, competitive, and non-stop 3-on-3 action. The game played the way you love. Watch live Saturday on CBS at 12 p.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, and catch replays Monday on BET.
Yay! Scott Jennings fearlessly fights back against the mainstream media on the Scott Jennings podcast.
So the Democratic message for the 2026 midterm is, we don't love America. That's it. The message from the left is, as long as people that we don't like are allowed to win elections, we hate America. That's a heck of a thing to be running an election on. We hate America.
Subscribe for free today on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, or SalemPodcastNetwork.com.
Hair Volume from New Nordic will make your hair look thick and healthy. Hair Volume is available online at Amazon and NewNordicUSA.com or in the hair care aisle at your local CVS.
Now, your official weather forecast.
Today will be mainly cloudy and humid with a chance of a thunderstorm in some areas late this morning, followed by periods of rain, possibly heavy, and another thunderstorm in the afternoon. Watch out for ponding on streets and highways. The high temperature will reach 77 degrees. I'm meteorologist Jason Catarina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. This hourly segment is brought to you by The Real Story with Jeannie Ives and Amy Jacobson. Heard weekday mornings at 11 on AM 560, The Answer. Now, from The Signature, a division of Esquire Bank Studios. Sean Fest returns on August 28th at the Westin Chicago Northwest in Itasca. Registration is free. Go to 560theanswer.com/SHAUN Fest.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. So, finally, somebody on the inside of one of these big government school systems in an urban center has been brought to tears. Wheatley High School teacher Darius Williams, a couple days into the term, took to social media to explain why he broke down in class while breaking down on social media. How are his seniors doing when it comes to, reading and writing?
I literally broke down in the middle of class because I'm teaching seniors. These kids are leaving high school and going to college, hopefully, after they finish. We had 2 paragraphs to read, 1 sentence complete to write. I gave them the sentence stems. I basically completed the sentence for them in the model. These are 17 and 18-year-old kids, and they couldn't fill in 4 words. 4 words. I gave them the scenario. We annotated together. I gave them the answers before we even had the problem. And they couldn't do it. I don't know. I simply don't know where the problem is. This is only day 2. And I have seniors who simply cannot read and seniors who cannot write. They cannot write. They can reason. They have the ability to defend their reasoning if it's talking to their homeboy, but applying that to a written text, 2 paragraphs, and they couldn't do it. Our young black men, our young brown men, our young black girls, and our young brown girls oh, God.
Anybody want to help Jarius Williams out in terms of why that situation is what it is, since he doesn't know the source of the problem? I wonder how long he's been holding that in, because I can't imagine this is the first senior class where the dynamic has been as he just described. 312-642-5600, alphawealthgroup.com, call and text line. Maybe somebody in Houston will listen when nobody in Chicago will. Maybe if it comes from a black teacher as opposed to, a honky radio talk show host or a political candidate, maybe somebody will listen. Not here, but maybe in Houston or somewhere else, since all these metropolitan Politburo-styled government school systems operate the same and produce roughly the same results. The only variance really comes from the extent that school choice is a present dynamic in the system. More charter schools that are received better, perhaps, in places like New York than in places like, Chicago. 312-642-5600, alphawealthgroup.com. Call and text line. No idea where this comes from. I mean, it's not really his job to, get to root causes, although an understanding of root causes is always advantageous. And it may create more of a sense of urgency to intervene earlier on in a child's development than when they're seniors in high school. Chris on the Dan Ryan, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
I'm on the Dan Ryan, Dan.
Yeah.
Yeah. Here's the problem, Dan. That guy says, I just don't know. He knows. He's part of the system. He knows exactly how the system works. He knows exactly how the kids are being routed through there. It's not like a surprise to him. So how can he say that and while he's crying? Now, I get his concern and I understand his grief, because it is a sad saying that these people are going to be out in the real world there and they're going to be struggling hardcore. But the problem is that first off, COVID really kind of screwed everybody over on everybody else in this situation. And second off, the system is set for these kids to slide through. Get them out the door as fast as possible and let us collect our check. That's my comment. Thank you.
Thanks for the call, Chris. George in Naperville.
Yes, I hope those students choose a party school when they pick a college.
Hi-oh. Yeah, thanks for the call, George. I mean, it would have been nice. I mean, he's emotional about it. At least he cares. That's more than many in the system. But it would have been nice for him to sort of raise the obvious question, both in terms of how did we get here and where are these kids going and how is it exactly these kids are choosing a college at this point when they cannot read or write according to their teacher and in spectacular fashion according to the exercise that he described. Well, that speaks to how we have set up pre-K through post-secondary education writ large and the identitarian poison that has infected the system from the outset to completion. whatever completion looks like. You really don't know, though. I mean, I don't want to really pounce on him because I don't think it's productive. Maybe he's a guy who truly is just in search of answers, and he's open-minded, and he's willing to be a force, a disruptive force in a positive way in the Houston Independent School District. So, you take those who are willing to battle in a sensible way with you. Before Lyndon Johnson signed the Great Society legislation, 1 in 5 black children lived in single-parent homes. By 1980, it was half. By 1995, it was 7 in 10. As Thomas Sowell and Walter Williams, Sowell we've never had on this show, unfortunately, not a big fan of doing media, but one of the most important economists of the last half century. I would put him right there under Milton Friedman and Hayek. I mean, the scholarship there and the acolytes of the Friedmans and the Sowells and the Williamses who've done the research. Our friend Bob Woodson, dearly departed. Larry Elder has been talking about this long before I was ever on the air. And nobody wants to listen until they're confronted with the end result. So 22% of black children lived in a single-parent home in 1960. By 80, it was half. By 95, it was 7 and 10. It's probably hovering around 8 and 10 right now. As those great intellects point out, the obvious, slavery didn't produce those numbers. The vestiges of, well, how did the vestiges of slavery produce those numbers when those numbers were a fraction of what they are today back in 1960? That's the logical trap that the left can't get out of if it was pointed out more regularly. The federal welfare apparatus that penalized marriage, rewarded dependency, treated fathers as financial liabilities. AFDC made a man's presence in the home a disqualifying factor for benefits. DC set up Great Society programs that literally paid women to be unmarried and paid them more for each additional child. Incentives, reactions. But Sowell's deeper look at this. Black family stability was actually improving before federal intervention accelerated. In fact, black poverty rates fell sharply between 1940 and 1960, before the Great Society existed. Black entrepreneurship, fraternal organizations, and two-parent households were all trending in the right direction. The war on poverty didn't rescue a broken community, it interrupted a recovery from the ravages of slavery and Jim Crow. Nobody's denying those noxious institutions or what America did under the color of the law, under government, to black Americans. But is so obsessed with perpetuating the victim narrative generations removed, they interrupted improvement. They interrupted the climb out. They interrupted, as Bob Woodson used to say, blacks being at their best when whites were at their worst. Urban renewal projects bulldozed black business districts in places like Cincinnati and Atlanta. The school assignment systems trapped poor children in failing institutions, all compounded by the welfare trap, and this happened systematically. Each intervention generated a problem that justified the next intervention. And, of course, as we have seen now for the better part, I mean, going back to just the Great Society, we could go back farther than that. Government failure, what does it require? More government. What's the problem with CPS? It's not big enough. Not enough money. Does it matter that kids are leaving? Enrollment's declining? No. So the poverty programs, as Bob Woodson used to point out, don't support families don't facilitate independence. They support the poverty bureaucracy that is self-sustaining. Because what are the incentives for the bureaucrats in those agencies? To wean people off, to have fewer clients, fewer dependents, really, or more dependents? What are the incentives for the politicians? To have people that are independent and don't need them, or the people dependent on the programs that they perpetuate? And they come and say, don't vote for that other guy because he's going to take the benefits I conferred to you away. You just stay on the plantation. Thomas Sowell also pointed out something else about these programs.
No, what the government is trying to do, is to set up programs justified on the assumption that they are equalizing. I think the crucial thing is that when you try to create this equality, you don't create the equality, you create something else. I've been doing studies now for 20 years of programs designed to increase equality. They increase inequality because even when the programs are designed for disadvantaged groups, they help the affluent members of disadvantaged groups, while the lower members of those groups fall further behind than ever before. And not just in the United States, in India, to some extent in Malaysia, the very same thing is happening.
Yeah, because people aren't that different and they respond to incentives. And you can institutionalize these cancers and buffalo enough people such that they go untreated generation after generation after generation. I mean, what that Darius Williams, that Houston teacher, is describing, we have this, we talk about this all the time. We have kids in CPS schools. I know it's just data points, it's just statistics, so it doesn't have the same emotional quotient, but I mean, there's schools where not a single kid is reading or doing math at grade level. Not a single one. The odds against that are astronomical. As I've said for literally decades now, you could shut down CPS, distribute the $11 billion equally to every CPS family. Fine, whatever. It's a better way to spend the money than the way we're spending it now. But even if you shut it down and you provided no funding, you would produce better results than CPS produces for $11 billion because there's enough parents that are going to find a way for their kids because they care about their kids' social and intellectual development. You could not do worse if you did nothing. Tina and Joliet.
Hi, Dan. This is one of the things that, Republicans have to get sharper at. When we get accused of systemic racism, when Brandon Johnson gets up there, when Stacey Davis Gates talks about systemic racism, agree with them. Absolutely, it exists. And then point to the Chicago public school system that has churned out uneducated and miseducated youth for decades now. That's your perfect example, and you can dunk on them. It encapsulates everything that they talk about systemic racism. It's all right there. It's at your fingertips, and it exists in our public school system.
Thanks for the call, Tina. That's right. Remember when Bill Bennett was the Secretary of Education under Reagan, and he came to visit Chicago? I mean, this is in the 80s, and it's been going on for generations before this, of course. He came to visit the city of Chicago, and he said, the Ku Klux Klan could not design a system more destructive to minority children than the Chicago public school system. And it was as true back then as it is today. Right. The white supremacists, ostensibly, or those who are systemically racist against black and brown people, are named Stacey Davis Gates and Brandon Johnson and Tony Preckwinkle and J.B. Pritzker and Chris Welch and Don Harmon and the entire political power structure of the state, particularly on the left, including some Quisling Republicans. That's the fact, if Darius Williams is now interested in the facts. Maybe he'll inspire some CPS teachers to break from the Politburo here and start at least looking for the why and the how we got here. which indicates what we need to do if we're going to do something other than what we've been doing.
Before you see it on TV, share it on Facebook, or read about it in the paper, hear it here first. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer. Sign up for the AM 560 Answer Advantage to get early alerts on event ticket sales, special discounts, and contest opportunities. Sign up today at 560theanswer.com/advantage. Gain insight into building strong marriages and raising godly children with Focus on the Family with Jim Daly each weekday at 11:30 a.m. on our sister station, AM 1160. Hope for your life. AM 560, The Answer.
Well, yeah, waiting for that Bears announcement later today, as Mike Scott was reporting with bated breath. Maybe we'll get some indication before the show's over today. It's now 6 o'clock on AM 560 WIND Chicago.
The Strait of Hormuz remains blocked. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. That is what Iran insists.
And will not be reopened until Iran's conditions are accepted.
And Fox's Trey Yingst in Tel Aviv.
Iran's foreign minister also says the U.S. has long miscalculated due to intelligence failures. Case in point, the war on Iran, now an even bigger miscalculation on the Strait of Hormuz. This came after President Trump posted yesterday on Truth Social, saying in part the USA has total control over the Strait of Hormuz. Our naval blockade is being called by everyone a wall of steel, and there is nothing Iran can do about it. Still, less than 10% of the average number of pre-war vessels are passing through the strait.
Oil prices are down more than 2%, but at the gas pump, a 4-cent jump up today. AAA's national average for regular, $4.07 a gallon. That's never been this high in August. His injuries are not life-threatening. That's what police are saying about a ninth grader hospitalized in Georgia after being shot at Warner Robins High School.
There was a group of students inside the bathroom, and a verbal altercation took place between two of the students.
Houston County Sheriff Matt Moulton says that quickly escalated into gunfire, and the alleged shooter, also a ninth grader, fled the school but was found and arrested an hour later. 2 U.S. soldiers are dead near Fort Hood in Texas after the Apache Army helicopter they were in crashed during a training flight. No word yet on the cause. A tropical storm has just formed in the Pacific, but Hernan is not considered a threat to land. Another storm system is headed toward Hawaii.
People are preparing for what could be another, perhaps, landfall, whether tropical storm or hurricane.
Fox weather meteorologist Craig Herrera says that system could become a tropical storm today and hit the Hawaiian Islands this weekend. Someone got lucky last night in Illinois. They hit the jackpot, just over $1 billion, the 8th largest Powerball lottery prize ever. Buying the winning ticket at a gas station in Quincy. If they take the cash option, $450 million. America's listening to Fox News. 6:02 in Chicago. In our QC Kinetics newsroom, 3 were shot, 1 killed driving on Chicago's South Side early this morning. It happened around 3 a.m. near 71st in Champlin. A 54-year-old man shot in the back, rushed to the nearby University of Chicago Trauma Center, and later died. Crews continue to assess damage caused by storms that struck the Chicago area and northwest Indiana on Tuesday. The National Weather Service now confirms at least 5 tornadoes hit the area. Indiana Governor Mike Braun was meeting with emergency personnel and mayors yesterday, dealing with storm cleanup.
All of our resources will be attentive. We were up here yesterday, and we will pour the coals to it to make sure that we get things back in order. Again, up here, it's going to be power restoration, a lot of cleanup. As you go south, it's going to be more involving damage from heavy rain.
250,000 NIPSCO customers remain in the dark with what is being now called the largest outage in company history. Staying in northwest Indiana, Bears executives are expected to deliver an update today on the team's stadium plans, which officials in Indiana continue to say center on Hammond, where there is ongoing due diligence at multiple locations, according to Hammond Mayor Thomas McDermott.
And I do know there's extensive testing going on. Even right now, I had one of the local businesses in the new footprint call me and say, hey, they're boring holes currently. So that's the issue of the day between us and the Bears.
Team sources downplayed the significance of today's update, describing it as the Bears' usual preseason availability for executives. And the fashion outlets of Chicago reversing a pay-to-park policy following a major backlash from shoppers and retailers. The Rosemont Mall walked back the program that was rolled out earlier this year. And starting this week, free parking is active for the first 3 hours to all guests. No purchase or validation is required. Week 1 of the NFL preseason starts tonight. Bears entertain the Browns on Saturday. Cubs a win over the Nationals, 12-6, while Luis Castillo and the White Sox blank the Reds, 5-0. The news service of Goldilocks offering Chicagoland state-of-the-art smart security systems to protect your home or business. AM 560 listeners receive 3 months of monitoring free with new installs. Get peace of mind. Call Goldilocks 708-889-5600. A check of traffic and weather coming up next on AM 560.
Sean Fest returns on August 28th at the Westin Chicago Northwest in Itasca. Be a part of a live, on-location broadcast of The Sean Thompson Show, including a performance of the national anthem, followed by live music, food, drinks, and an opportunity to meet Sean Thompson. Registration is free. Go to 560theanswer.com/SeanFest. That's 560theanswer.com/SHAUN Fest. Sponsored in part by Virago and by State Farm Insurance Agent Anthony DeGrotto.
Important information regarding the Italy Unfiltered Dream Vacation Sweepstakes and the Italy Unfiltered Group Tour scheduled for September 2026. Due to ongoing uncertainty surrounding overseas travel conditions and future international travel considerations, the Italy Unfiltered Tour has been canceled. As a result, the Italy Unfiltered Dream Vacation Sweepstakes has also been canceled, and no prize will be awarded. We understand this may be disappointing and appreciate your interest and participation. Additional information regarding the cancellation is available on our station's website on the Contests and Sweepstakes page. The Italy Unfiltered Tour has been canceled. As a result, the Italy Unfiltered Dream Vacation Sweepstakes has also been canceled, and no prize will be awarded. Thank you for your understanding and for being a valued member of our listening family.
My name is Whitney Allen, and I'm a widow. My husband, Ryan, died. We never thought we'd ever have to use life insurance, but the unexpected happened. With Ethos, signing up was fast and 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. No medical exams, and you can get up to $3 million worth of coverage. I'm grateful we were prepared.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/term. That's ethos.com/term. Paid spokesperson. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
Everywhere you look, things are getting more expensive. But at Consumer Cellular, we're lowering the price for those 50 and up. Now you can get unlimited everything for just $35 a line. That's $35 a month for unlimited talk, text, and data. Switch to the carrier ranked #1 in network coverage and customer satisfaction and get unlimited everything for just $35 a month. Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit Consumer Cellular online or in-store today. Price includes $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. Taxes and fees apply. Data speeds reduced after 35 gigabytes. Rankings done by 2025 ACSI survey.
We've been here 30 years, 30 Christmases in this house, and we have the traditions that most families have.
That's Terry talking about her experience with Rhino Shield ceramic coating.
We did Rhino Shield 14 years ago, and the house still looks the same as the first day. Rhino Shield really worked with me to help me get just the right nice soft yellow, and it's 14 years later, and it's the same color.
The main reason Terry called Rhino Shield is because Rhino Shield is backed by a 25-year warranty.
It just sounded wonderful that we could have the house coated with Rhino Rhino Shield and not have to worry about it again for 25 years.
Take it from Terry. Give Rhino Shield a call at 847-850-1132. Call now and receive 10% off the regular price. Or go to ChicagoRhinoShield.com.
There have been neighbors that have come by and said, "Did you just have your house painted?" Because they wanted to know who the contractor was. And I said, "No, it's actually Rhino Shield."
For your 10% off, call now, 847-850-1132. Or go to ChicagoRhinoShield.com.
6:08, Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. A dense fog advisory out there this morning. Some areas, over a wide area, are seeing visibility down to a quarter mile or less. Drive with extra care this morning. That dense fog advisory up until 9 a.m. today. Just a reminder, traveling in northwest Indiana, especially in Lake County, about 82% of the county is without power. Most stoplights are not working, and police are asking us to tell you to treat those safely as four-way stop. 8094, accident, 2 left lanes blocked westbound at Burnham, and delays on the Dan Ryan, an accident left shoulder outbound right before 31st. Traffic, a service of the AM 560 mobile app. Download the app, 560theanswer.com/mobile. Chicago's Morning Answer continues after we check out the morning forecast in our Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today will be mainly cloudy and humid with a chance of a thunderstorm in some areas late this morning. This will be followed by periods of rain, at times heavy, and another thunderstorm in the afternoon. Be cautious as there may be ponding on streets and highways. The high temperature will reach 77 degrees. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from The Signature, a division of Esquire Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Is that what residents of Dallas will be waking up to next? Like residents of Dearborn, Michigan do at present? That's literally from Dearborn, Michigan, the call to prayer. The Dallas airport is now installing dedicated Islamic wudu foot washing stations inside bathrooms. Natalie Winters from the Bannon's podcast, among others, have the receipts on this posted online if you haven't seen. That voodoo that they do down in Dallas. What is going on in Dallas? And apparently it's not just Dallas. McKinney, Texas, a community there recently debating whether or not to green light the construction of a Islamic center or mosque. And this was interesting to hear from a Christian of Middle Eastern extraction, Eddie Issa, who took to the podium during the public comment section of the community meeting in McKinney, Texas, to offer this.
Hello, my name is Eddie Issa. I'm a Sharia law survivor from Iran. And I'm here to tell you, this is a dangerous ideology you're allowing in their country. Every country that is Islamic now, it used to be a Christian country. And we were soft Christians, and we allowed these people to come in, bring their Sharia law into their countries, and slowly kill us off left and right. Let me make it very clear to you. Christianity is a personal relationship with God, where it says, render unto Caesar's what is Caesar's, render unto God what is God's. Islam is Sharia law, deen wa dawah, religion and state, which is not even compatible with the American thing. And when these people will use taqiyya to lie to you, to manipulate you, because whenever Islam is little, they will lie to you and tell you they come in peace. This is a bad idea, and you're going to regret not listening to people like us who lived under Sharia law.
Thank you, Eddie.
And then the city council voted 7-0 to greenlight the mosque. But to be honest, I mean, just as a point of order, it's very difficult for a city council to restrict the development of a center of faith, a church, a synagogue, a mosque. You can't use zoning laws as the means to sideline somebody's expression of their faith. And there's Supreme Court case law on this that I'm sure the city was subject to here, and this is why the vote was what it was. So it's a little bit more complicated when it's just talking about erecting a place of worship, so long as the zoning laws previously provided for it. You can't rezone, you can't manipulate the law because you don't like the particular place of worship or the particular faith tradition, which I support generally. So that's not the issue. The issue is like doing these major developments sui generis, like we've talked about previously, the Islamic city that there was an effort to erect down in Texas. And the larger point isn't even a particular mosque or a particular Islamic center. The issue is Islamists. And what has been facilitated by open borders leftists and some complicity with Republicans too. And you see this in places like Dearborn, Michigan, in places like Hamtramck, Michigan, where they're debating issues like animal sacrifices in your backyard. Yes or no? Seriously.
Debates raged on for at least 3 hours at Hamtramck City Hall over the new ordinance of sacrificing animals.
Really ridiculous, catastrophic resolution.
If it's not passed, then we are ready to take it to the court for the religious rights, because it is constitution.
This was the second debate of the new ordinance, and there was a crowd outside of the City Hall chambers filling out cards to speak, and they were watching it on closed-circuit TV.
No, it's not safe or sane or humane, because basements or kitchens or backyards are not suitable places for live animal slaughter.
Many people, including Muslim residents, were against it, citing sanitary concerns if the animals are sacrificed in a home and not in a sterile environment, especially in the tight-knit neighborhoods of Hamtramck.
And the other thing that's the concern here is the identitarianism that is being directed in places dominated by the left to facilitate the rise of Islamists. I mean, you have this at the highest levels of government in places like Minnesota, where the lieutenant governor and nominee for Senate now, Peggy Flanagan, oh boy, she is a loon, absolute loon, on the beautiful Somali community, unequivocal.
I just watched the video of Donald Trump attacking the beautiful Somali community that calls Minnesota home. They are part of the fabric of our state. I'm literally going down Lake Street right now, which is one of the hearts of the Somali community. These are teachers and nurses and neighbors,
operators
and
of clearing centers, yes,
and our friends. And we are going to stand shoulder to shoulder with our neighbors, and that's just who we are as Minnesotans and what we're going to do.
See, the problem with the left is they don't make distinctions. Everything is group identity. And the Somali community of Minnesota is like the Haitian community somewhere else, wherever there are concentrations, those people become mascots for these craven leftist politicians of the Peggy Flanagan type, who then sort of paint with broad brushes. I'm sure there are some lovely Somali Americans who emigrated to this country living in St. Paul, Minneapolis and St. Paul. I have no doubt. Because they use group identity, we should make sure we don't, which is why I'm generally opposed to things like banning all people here and banning all people there, because all people aren't the same. Now, if we can't make a determination, you know, there still has to be a process and a determination based on every individual and the sort of necessary records to support an informed decision and a wise judgment. That's fine. But there's no reason for the categorical grouping. That's identity. That's falling into their trap of playing identity politics. As I said, the Ilhan Omar from Somalia and Ayaan Hirsi Ali from Somalia are very different. I'm very happy that Ayaan Hirsi Ali is an American. I'm considerably less enthusiastic that Ilhan Omar is one, at least for now. But they don't make those distinctions, and it's worth noting. And now they're using the power of government, not just those who are actually getting elected with the support of, honky neo-Bolsheviks like Peggy Flanagan, also getting elected. But, the type, the Raffles. They're also setting up programs, whether it's the Raffles or the Islamists who have been invited here and elevated. They're setting up programs that are Sharia law compliant, that are specifically set up to benefit or service the Muslim immigrants. Massachusetts moves to create a Muslim commission to help Muslims in government and shape state policy. This is legislation. The bill orders the government to, quote, identify and recommend qualified American Muslims to appointive positions at all levels of government. Why do you need direction? You have people in government looking for qualified people. If they turn out to be, of Muslim extraction, fine. If I had the opportunity to appoint our friend Dr. Zuhdi Jasser to an important post, I would do it because I know Dr. Zuhdi Jasser and he's a great American. But not everybody is. And this is where that distinction and a little bit of due diligence are required. It's really not that complicated. We have to step back, though, and not fall into the left's trap of playing their game from the other side. But this, it is worth noting the alliance between these dilettantes like Peggy Flanagan and these virulent Islamists, of which there are many. We've played you clips, not just Ilhan Omar, imams in Minneapolis, St. Paul, too. The alliance between the two. Well, what connects the two? Especially when they sort of posture, when you have Islamists posturing for trans rights, or Peggy Flanagan turning a blind eye to animal sacrifice. How do they sort of all look past those things over which they otherwise disagree, where the cultures do not intersect? The nihilistic sort of secular humanist, or I don't know what Peggy Flanagan, maybe Wiccan culture, and the Islamist culture. They don't intersect. So where there's divergence, why does it still work? Maybe because they're both oriented towards totalitarianism, as Mr. Issa testifying at that community meeting in McKinney, Texas mentioned. It is all-encompassing. There is no aspect of life that is private or secular. It is either the state religion of secular humanism or the state religion of Islam or some hybrid of the two. But the point is they share a desire to dominate people's lives in the totalitarian sense of the world, the political sense of that world. word. Voodoo stations at DFW. A Muslim commission in Massachusetts. Louisville, Kentucky, rewriting its small business lending program to accommodate Islamic financing, announcing that the Economic Development Agency will now offer a Sharia-compliant modification option. Minneapolis, city-backed business financing that, quote, conforms with Islamic law, unquote. Lewiston, Maine, the city and its Economic Development Agency will provide Islamic law compatible commercial financing through, quote, interest-free loans with service charges. Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, housing plan calls on the city to, quote, develop a Sharia-compliant financing product, unquote. That's a specific, explicit municipal housing policy objective. Seattle, Washington, no surprise here, Katie Wilson Land. The mayoral housing plan created an official action item titled, quote, Housing Tools for Sharia-Compliant Lending, unquote. Ayan Hirsi Ali has a really good piece at her Substack, I won't get into here, but about how the sort of the three-stage process for these rapacious expansionist Islamists, and that's not characterizing every Muslim, that's just characterizing the rapacious expansionist Islamists that I'm talking about. It's a subset. Their three-stage process for domination. There's something afoot there. And frankly, you're seeing it on display. I think a case study is on display in the form of El Sharia, or El Said as he goes by, the Michigan Senate candidate, who's, by the way, we're finding out every single day, big fan of Louis Farrakhan, Nation of Islam in Chicago. Gee, what a surprise. Kevin in Lombard.
Hey, Dan. I've been a resident of Lombard for over 25 years, and you don't need to go to Dearborn or Dallas or any other city. Take a drive through Lombard. Go right down Roosevelt Road, and you'll see storefront after storefront. It's either shawarma, halal, smoke shop, or Middle Eastern grocery store. It's happening in real time here in the Chicago suburbs. I don't know if you know, my wife is a kindergarten teacher, and the only suburb of Chicago where the second language is not Spanish is in Lombard. It's Urdu. It's happening here. Take a drive through, and let's open our eyes to our backyard.
Yeah, thanks for the call, Kevin. We've talked about Bridgeview. We've talked about Orland Park. I saw a video online of Halal Fest in St. Charles. Looked like a pretty big turnout. I mean, you know, it's not just happening in Dearborn and Hamtramck in Michigan either. I saw Michigan State University has, you know, on the website, you can have the copy on the website translated into Arabic. What does that tell you? So again, there is no sort of reflexive opposition to Muslims, Muslim Americans certainly, or even Muslim immigrants. Not categorically. That's my position. I'm just offering mine. But the way we've done it is wildly irresponsible and detrimental. And you're seeing it play out. You do irresponsible things. Usually there are consequences that you're not going to enjoy. Greg in Schaumburg.
So to answer your question, Dan, what is the distinction that we have not addressed that causes all of these implementations, if you would have it, be it foot washings, et cetera, to be manifest in our society today? And I'd like to, proffer this. And that is the fact that our country has not really come to grips with the underlying philosophy under which it has been formed. And when Christians announce to the world that, this country was founded on a Christian basis, they get ridiculed. And actually, that's a very key distinction, because what we're seeing played out in the Middle East right now, particularly within negotiations, is Trump in the Western world is approaching this with the vantage point that there is a benefit to negotiations to be able to better society and better humanity. You get the feeling, and there's a lot of documentation and scholastic work on this, that the Iranians are not, because their underlying distinctive process is one of domination, which goes back to their religion. So I would tee up and just say that this distinction is something that really needs to be addressed, and not to elongate any more, but one of the things that's really disappointing in this whole process is the fact that the Christian world is really caving on it, particularly Pope Leo. You don't see Pope Leo standing up for this in any way. You see the accommodation, and what he's leaving in the wake is all of the hassles that are being, manifest within the Lombards of the world. Thanks.
Thanks for the call, Greg. Well, I mean, I think that Eddie Issa, who testified or spoke at the city council meeting in McKinney, Texas, said it well. I mean, I'll let him say it again. He provided the distinction. Sharia law survivor, as he describes himself.
Hello, my name is Eddie Issa. I'm a Sharia law survivor from Iran. And I'm here to tell you this is a dangerous ideology you're allowing in their country. Every country that is Islamic now, it used to be a Christian country. And we were soft Christians, and we allowed these people to come in, bring their Sharia law into their countries, and slowly kill us off left and right. Let me make it very clear to you. Christianity is a personal relationship with God, where it says, render unto Caesar's what is Caesar's, render unto God what is God's. Islam is Sharia law, deen wa dawah, religion and state, which is not even compatible with the American thing. And when these people...
Yeah, so I think that's a nice, quick distillation. Render unto Caesar what is Caesar's, and unto God what is God's. It's a personal relationship that provides for peaceful pluralism. Christianity, Judaism. And so does Islam, if you believe in peaceful pluralism, like our friend Dr. Zuhdi Jasser of the Muslim Reform Movement. But if you don't, and many do not, including nominees of the DSA party, and they start getting control of the reins of power, well, then you start to scale what's happening in Dearborn. And that's a problem, isn't it?
Hear about the big stories of the day, then talk about them right here on Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Now that summer is here, it's time for some summer home maintenance.
That's cold!
Hot water issues? Call CenterGuard Plumbing. Right now, get a new 40-gallon atmospheric vent water heater installed for just $1,295 standard installation, or a 50-gallon for $1,395 standard installation with free haul away of your old tank. A proud sponsor of AM 560, you'll save hundreds, if not thousands of dollars on tankless and atmospheric vent water heaters with CenterGuard Plumbing. Plus, get 10% off any licensed plumbing contractor competitor's price. CenterGuard Plumbing is Chicagoland's same-day water heater experts. Call before noon, and they can schedule your repair or install the same day on in-stock water heaters. You're only a text away from install today. Call 847-406-8883. Mention AM 560 to receive summer special pricing. That's 847-406-8883. Call or text 847-406-8883 or visit CenterGuardPlumbing.com.
I'm not one to say I told you so, but I switched to Pure Talk over a year ago, and ever since, I've been telling people there's no better wireless company out there. Well, a few months ago, a massive survey was conducted. 123,000 people were asked to rate their wireless carrier in 4 categories: coverage, support, data, and overall value. Well, the results are in. Guess which wireless company was the only wireless company to get 5 stars in every category? Yeah, Pure Talk. 5 stars, every category. To celebrate, Pure Talk is offering the first 3 months of any plan for just $15 a month, including their top-tier unlimited plan. No contract, no commitment, just a very inexpensive way to test drive the only American wireless company with 5 stars in every category. Just dial pound 250, say micro, and Pure Talk's U.S. customer service will take it from there. Again, pound 250 micro. And yes, I told you so.
AM 560, The Answer.
up at 6:36, we're going to talk to our old friend Dr. Jonathan Ellen, former CEO of Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital, about, the Fauci diaries and text messages and emails and where we go from here in terms of a reckoning. Also, Trump's modification of the child vax schedule. We'll discuss that all with Dr. Jonathan Ellen at 6:36. Now we check the headlines with Mike Scott.
6:33 in Chicago. A dense fog advisory out there right now. Places like Aurora down to near zero visibility. In our QC Kinetics newsroom, 3 were shot, 1 was killed while driving on Chicago's south side early this morning. It happened around 3 a.m. near 71st and Champlain. A 54-year-old man rushed to the University of Chicago Trauma Center, where he later died. Crews continue to assess damage caused by storms that slammed the Chicago area and northwest Indiana. The National Weather Service confirms now 5 tornadoes hit the area. Hardest hit, northwest Indiana, where Indiana Governor Mike Braun met with mayors and emergency personnel yesterday.
All of our resources will be attentive. We were up here yesterday, and we will pour the coals to it to make sure that we get things back in order. Again, up here, it's going to be power restoration, a lot of cleanup. As you go south, it's going to be more involving damage from heavy rain.
This morning, Iran says the Strait of Hormuz stays closed until the U.S. accepts all of its conditions. Iranian authorities made the claim after President Trump said the U.S. had control of oil shipping lanes. The Justice Department is announcing arrest in what's being called an elaborate sham marriage scheme involving Chinese citizens.
Pairing foreign nationals seeking immigration status with United States citizens willing to participate and engage in a sham marriage.
Attorney General Todd Blanche. A winning ticket in Wednesday night's billion-dollar Powerball drawing sold in the state of Illinois near Quincy. The massive jackpot with a cash value of more than $450 million. Some rock and roll history last night. Rolling Stone reports that Ritchie Blackmore reunited with Deep Purple 33 years after the guitarist left the band that he co-founded. The 81-year-old apparently joined the band for a rendition of their song, yeah, you guessed it, Smoke on the Water at the Jones Beach Theater in New York. Blackmore's initial run with Deep Purple, you may recall, lasted from 1968 to 1975. Chicago sports. Week 1 of the NFL preseason is here. 6 games on the slate. Bears entertain the Browns on Saturday. Cubs dismantled the Nationals 12-6, 3 home runs for Alex Bregman. White Sox 2 hit the Reds in a 5-0 win at home. The news is a service of the daily podcast of Chicago's Morning Answer and the Sean Thompson Show. Subscribe free at 560theanswer.com/podcast. A check of traffic and weather is coming up next on AM 560.
Alex Marlowe explains consequences of open borders.
Think about what Joe Biden did the second he became president. He stopped building the border wall. Remain in Mexico went away, which meant you come here, you say, I declare asylum. We said, cool, come on in. Do you want a bus to Boston, or how about a plane flight to Chicago? Can we help you out with that? That's how we behaved. So stupid, so self-destructive.
The Alex Marlowe Show, afternoons at 3, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
You know what really keeps me up at night? It's the criminals feel more and more bold. They have no fear of any consequences because there are none. So I did what anyone with a family should do. I called Goldilocks. They're not just some cookie-cutter security company. Goldilocks has been protecting Chicagoland homes and businesses for 4 decades, 40 years. And they actually listen. Their technician comes out to the house. He takes a look at what you need to make your house a smart home with a security system you can monitor from anywhere. It's built specifically for me and my family. Motion sensors, smart locks, cameras, monitoring, all customized. I don't trust anybody in Illinois to protect my family. I do it, and I did it by calling Goldilocks. I trust Goldilocks to keep my house, my property, and my family safe. Tell them Sean Thompson sent you, and Goldilocks will include 3 months free monitoring with any new installation. Call Goldilocks at 708-889-5600. That's 708-889-5600. Or visit them online at GoldilocksInc.com.
You need shirts, hats, polos, and you need them now. That's Your Wearable Words. Embroidery, heat transfers, custom printing. No big minimums, no big waits. Whether it's 50 polos for your team or 100 hats for your next event, their machines are running around the clock to get it done fast. Your Wearable Words is right here in Chicagoland, ready to ship directly to you. Your Wearable Words gets it stitched and delivered. Get started at yourwearablewords.com and order today.
You know I don't push products I don't believe in, so listen up because this one I love and recommend to friends and listeners. It's Virago Liquid Immune Support. Now I spoke with Dr. Hubert, the creator of Virago, and let me tell you, this man knows immune health like nobody's business. He explained to me the stronger your immune system, the stronger your body fights back against viruses, disease, inflammation, all of it. That's why he created Virago. It's a liquid immune boosting supplement packed with 23 powerful nutraceuticals working together in synergy. It's antiviral, anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, and even protects your heart, kidneys, and liver. And because it's liquid, your body absorbs it quickly. I mix Virago in my smoothies. I feel the difference, and you will too. So order your bottle of Virago today at myvirago.com. That's myvirago.com and use coupon code IMMUNE to save 30%. myvirago.com, coupon code IMMUNE.
Progressive Insurance. Progressive can protect your home, auto, boat, motorcycle, ATV, RV, and more. In short, a lot of things. Bundle today at progressive.com.
Team Hochberg Traffic Center time, 8094 due to an early accident, all jammed up westbound between Klein and Torrance. Reagan I-88 from an earlier accident being swept out of your way. Eastbounders, you're jammed up right before the Eisenhower. Stop and go traffic from an earlier accident continues on the Dan Ryan outbound between 18th and 31st. Traffic, a service of USPS Ground Advantage. We mean business. Business moves fast, and when you ship with USPS Ground Advantage, you can keep up with confidence. Visit USPS.com/Ground Advantage to learn more. Chicago's Morning Answer continues after we check out our morning forecast in the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center. A dense fog advisory is up until 9 a.m. Very humid this morning. A thunderstorm early in the afternoon and some heavy rain and storms crossing later this evening. A high near 81.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from The Signature, a division of Esquire Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Trust the experts, trust the experts. Trust the science, trust the science. CDC, CDC, Dr. Fauci, Dr. Fauci. Mask on, mask off, 2 shots, 1 shot, mask on, 2 masks. Comply, comply.
What's in the shot? It's safe, don't worry. Don't worry.
Go ahead, get it.
It's
6 foot safe.
social distance, 6 foot safe. 5-foot danger. 6 foot safe. 5-foot danger. If you're 6 foot safe, I'm 5-foot danger. I'm coming to breathe on you. I'm the grandma killer. Listen to the rules.
You really have to see Jim Breuer do that performance visually because he's such a physical comedian. It's more entertaining, but I think you get the gist. And this was 5 years ago. Jim Breuer, Saturday Night Live alum, I think offering some much-needed satire at the time. You may have forgotten that. That may have been memory hole, too. But there were people that were unafraid to challenge the experts even to the point of satirizing them, and not inappropriately. And so in the last 2 weeks, between the invocation of the Fifth Amendment, right, against self-incrimination by that sad little man, Tony Fauci, and the revelations from his diary, plus text messages and emails and voicemails. One of the things, of course, that we've been discussing this week is the question about vax mandates for pregnant women, or even just advising pregnant women to get the vax. And the science is a bit unclear on this, which is okay. It just should have been presented that way. And that was the point that Dr. J, the newly installed NIH director under this president, has been making since the weekend.
Do we know if the vaccine caused adverse effects that could have led to miscarriages in that time period?
I mean, Martha, it's certainly possible. You saw that reflected in Tony Fauci's text. The debate regarding that question rages on to this day. I mean, I can tell you, like, I wrote a draft paper that we never able to get published, where we found a slight increase in miscarriage in the first trimester. Whether that's right or not, it depends on peer review and all that, which we didn't finish going through because I became director. Other people have published papers that say that there has not been a rise. Now that debate then rages on in the scientific literature. For me, it's even beyond that. The key question is, when you are recommending something for pregnant women, you have to be pretty certain, because they're a very vulnerable population, especially the baby that they have inside of them is vulnerable. We are usually very careful as doctors to say, well, we even say don't eat sushi, don't the things where there's not a, we take a balance toward the risks don't generally outweigh the benefits from products. Instead of using that normal sort of common sense kind of approach to recommendations for pregnant women at the time, what they were saying at the time was just ignore all those harms, forget about the possibility, forget about the scientific debate, forget about all that nuance, and just say you must take it, right. Or else you lose your job, or else you lose your ability to go into society. I think that was a tremendous mistake, and we're paying the price as a result in the loss of trust in public health.
Yeah. Former CDC director Dr. Robert Redfield was on News Nation. He took it one step further, saying it was a mistake to even encourage, much less mandate, the vax for pregnant women, but from a different perspective, because there's a lot of suggestion that there's no evidence, very little evidence, that the vax causes miscarriages or the vax harms the fetus. But there's no benefit. The point is there was no benefit to the adult, because getting the vax didn't prevent you from getting the virus.
All I can say, having looked at the New England Journal paper that came out in April, they reported 827 pregnancies in individuals that had received the COVID vaccine. And in that report, they reported 115 miscarriages or spontaneous abortions. Now, it doesn't mean that the COVID vaccine caused those, because there's no control group. So you can't see what the general miscarriage rate was, or spontaneous abortion rate, in the population that they were doing the study in. But obviously it's disconcerting when you see a rate of almost 14% of a miscarriage. I never thought we should vaccinate pregnant women. I was not in favor of that policy recommendation because the COVID vaccine did not prevent infection. So the argument that some people had that you had to vaccinate pregnant women to protect the unborn baby because it would protect mommy from getting infected. That was not a true statement because it doesn't prevent infection. And so I was of the view that the only thing the vaccine really accomplished, which was important, was it prevented serious illness and death in people that were at high risk for serious illness and death. And those are people largely over the age of 65, of which obviously that doesn't include the pregnant women population. So I think it was a mistake to vaccinate pregnant women. But I think it was more a mistake. Jay Bhattacharya and I think the real mistake related to the recent text messages was that there was not an open, transparent discussion of this for the public so the public could make their own decisions about whether they thought they should take the vaccine when they were pregnant or not.
For more on this, please be joined by Dr. Jonathan Ellen, primary care pediatrician, epidemiologist, and former CEO of Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital. Dr. Ellen, thanks for being with us again. Good to talk to you.
Good to talk to you.
So what's your reaction to what Dr. J and Dr. Redfield had to say?
I think it's a discussion you and I've had, unfortunately, for too long, which is this idea of risk-benefit in policy and science. And what we thought was happening at some point were this idea that science, whatever that was everything. We started to believe that it was getting in the way of really a good risk-benefit in a policy position. And so what that means in sort of simple terms is this idea that we were going to put out these very explicit statements about mandates and not think about the consequences of those mandates was problematic and really now at this point has really undermined everybody's belief in any science that it is substantive. So I think the idea that we were mandating pregnant women to get vaccinated was ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting, too, just to that point, the point that you just made and has been made, like we're still wrestling with just exactly what the risk was to pregnant women with COVID, with the COVID vaccine. We're still wrestling with the science of it right now, as Dr. J, with humility, said, is like, I did a paper, but we didn't finish the research, so we don't really know. There are some studies that suggest one thing. There's other evidence, including from people who are pretty good watchdogs on this, like Alex Berenson, looking at UK data that showed fewer stillbirths and premature births and low birth rates for COVID jabbed women in 21 and 22. So it doesn't mean the jabs are protective, but it's a sign that they aren't dangerous to fetuses. But other people, are now resharing their anecdotes of, like Bill Ackman, of the number of miscarriages his wife had, and they think there's a connection. And all this confusion and supposition because of the dishonesty, the lack of disclosure for so long at the height of the pandemic.
Yeah, I think it's an issue. So that's the issue around risk communication that we also talked about, which is that people did not trust the public to give them where we were sure and where we were not sure.
Yeah.
And so now when we tell people we're sure of something, they're like, well, last time you told us you're sure, it turns out you weren't sure. And that really undercuts everything that's important to us in terms of how we can use science to drive policy.
Is there anything that you've seen or read in the last couple of weeks since the Fauci hearings started and the revelations that were made that surprised you or particularly unnerved you more than you had already been unnerved during the process?
I still am upset about the lab leak issue. That and while it probably didn't have a lot of impact on what we were doing in terms of policy and efforts to try to control the spread and protect people, I still felt that just underlied the idea that, and it's what Rand's so pissed off about, is that there really was there should have been a concern and a real investigation in the fact that Fauci even recognized that there could have been a lab leak, but that we had to slam it down because someone thought that would make us sound xenophobic. Really was that not the exact facts, but the fact that debate, which was slammed down so hard and beaten up so much, and which could have been, and still there's a lot of arguments for it being true. I felt that really undermined everything else.
Do you think the reaction to that dishonesty to really go hard against gain-of-function research, to really end gain-of-function research, is that an overreaction, or is that the right response? Right, is that part of at least the right response?
Well, I don't know personally whether how much we have gained from gain-of-function research. I just don't know the field well enough to know whether something that is positive, that we're all very supportive of, came out of gain-of-function research. So I can't speak to that. I think what the issue we keep coming back to is that the fact that forget whether NIH funded it or not, and whether that was stupid to fund in the first place. The fact that the discussion and the dialogue showed that there was a dishonesty about it, and that there was a self-serving aspect to how it was slammed down, and then used the media to make anyone who came up with the lab leak hypothesis seem stupid.
Mm-hmm.
And that really was, and to me, that just undermines everything else that we were told. So it's that kind of dishonesty that then makes what I think are honest recommendations, or honest ideas, or honest discussions. They're all being looked at with a lot of skepticism now, because you look at somebody who came out and said, I believe that there's no way it was a lab leak. And then you find out, well, yeah, he thought maybe there was.
Yeah, poisons everything else. Are you, one of the things that strikes me about all that, the diary entries and communications that were revealed, is the lack of presence of Deborah Birx and Francis Collins, the NIH director at the time, as well as, frankly, the guy we just heard from in part, Redfield. It seems like it was Fauci's show, and he was deciding who would be in the circle of trust and who wouldn't be. And I just wonder if you think the same, and if perhaps it wouldn't be judicious for Rand and Ron Johnson to whistle Deborah Birx and Redfield and Francis Collins, if he can take time away from writing folk music ditties, before Congress, and ask them some questions.
I think there should be we have not had a real investigation that was not, the goal was not to just take what I think was a man with a lot of hubris, and which I've always felt that Fauci had. And, taking that center stage and not putting enough humility into it, even if he thought that he could have argued that any type of hedging would have been a problem. But I think there should be a much fuller investigation. The same way the Air Traffic Association, the traffic boards and all those, and air traffic issues, we do big dive downs. They rebuild the whole thing. And there should be a truth thing, and therefore Redfield, Burke, Collins should all be up there talking.
Before we let you go, do you have any particular opinion on Trump's announcement this week of the revised recommended vaccine schedule for kids?
Yeah, I'm disgusted by it.
Really?
Yeah, I don't, I'm less worked up about what was dropped and what was not. I was very bothered by the press conference where there was the idea that that as they were talking about it, it made it sound like there was no science behind anything, and that we have, that we were pouring tons of liquid into babies at one time when we're not. And so it just further undermined any value there are for the vaccines that there's no debate around. And so it bothered me a lot. Whether we debate whether you need Hep A, Hep B, rotavirus, as a child, as an infant, we can debate that. But to undermine what has been a proven effective strategy around mumps, measles, and rubella, and diphtheria, tetanus, and pertussis is just problematic for me.
It's less the substance of the matter and more the imprecision of the discussion of it?
Yeah. Yes, because that then again gets to our whole point where this debate between policy and science tips into the wrong direction again. And now we're going the other way, where we're not even looking at what is reality. We're just talking off the top of our heads. And this is the problem that you and I had a problem with back when the mandates were happening, which was therefore the policy was beating what we really knew. And they kept screaming science, science, science. And we were like, well, but the implications on the policy side. So, where the pendulum keeps swimming back and forth. And this is a case where the pendulum, because of the miscommunication, because of the dishonesty around the communication and the policies during COVID, we're now sitting here listening to the same thing happening on the other side.
Dr. Jonathan Ellen, primary care pediatrician, epidemiologist, and former CEO of Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital. Dr. Ellen, thanks for joining us as always. Appreciate it.
Have a great day.
You too. And he joined us on the alphawealthgroup.com answer line.
It's news, opinion, insight. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer. Don't miss In Grace with Pastor Jim Scudder Jr. Now heard on Sunday mornings at 7:30. Tune in and find hope as Jim Scudder explores God's Word and His world each Sunday morning right here on AM 560. The Answer. Take the journey of living a happy, successful, and meaningful life through God. Listen to It's Time with Dan Lights, Sunday mornings at 9 on our sister station, AM 1160. Hope for your life. AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up at 7:07. Latest installment of Why Dan Prof to Single. At the bottom of the 7 o'clock hour, Dominic Green joins us to talk about a subject I've been trying to get to but haven't. Jason Arday, the Cambridge University professor and academic fraud. It is now 7 o'clock on AM 560 WIND Chicago.
Iran says President Trump's wrong. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News, insisting the Strait of Hormuz remains blocked after months of attacks on ships. The president says the U.S. controls the strait.
The goal here is to ensure that Iran never has a nuclear weapon. And ultimately, this is going to be a tiered approach. They have to deal with the Strait of Hormuz first, and then ultimately enter into more detailed discussions about Iran's nuclear program. But as it relates to these Gulf countries, there is real concern about the escalation ladder and what happens if major strikes resume against Iran.
Fox's Trey Yingst also reports from Tel Aviv.
Israel is still carrying out limited strikes in both Lebanon and Gaza. On Wednesday, a senior Hamas commander was killed in one of those strikes.
There is also drama in the West Bank.
U.S. Ambassador to Israel Mike Huckabee condemning what he calls horrific terror against Palestinians in the West Bank by what he describes as Israeli terrorists after Israeli settlers besieged 3 Palestinian homes near Nablus, including one belonging to a dual U.S. citizen, trapping residents in their homes using rocks and tents and cutting off water and electricity.
That's Fox's Lillian Wu. The Army is investigating why an Apache helicopter crashed during a Fort Hood training flight, killing both soldiers on board. The ACLU is calling this a recipe for harm to the public. Amid all the anti-ICE protests, the Department of Homeland Security is going to provide electric shock gloves to immigration enforcement agents next year. Border Czar Tom Homan just told Fox.
So the glove is, the latest thing they're looking at to help in situations. You've seen the videos in the past year and a half, the fights on the street where officers are overwhelmed. This would be a tool they can use to make someone compliant.
Weeks after Luigi Mangione goes on trial in New York on state murder charges in the shooting death of United's healthcare CEO Brian Thompson, there has been a hearing set up for tomorrow in the federal case against Mangione. He faces stalking charges and a trial on that next year. America's listening to Fox News.
71 degrees. A dense fog advisory is up for the Chicago area, Northwest Indiana. In our QC Kinetics newsroom, I'm Mike Scott. Some visibilities, like near Aurora, are down to near zero this morning. 3 are shot, 1 killed, driving on Chicago's south side. It happened this morning around 3 a.m. near 71st and Champlin. A 54-year-old man was shot in the head and back and later died. Crews continue to assess damage caused by storms that struck the Chicago area and northwest Indiana on Tuesday. Tornadoes that touched down include tornadoes in Oswego, Wilmington, Mokina to Tinley Park, Orland Park to Munster, Indiana, and Monee into St. John, Indiana, where Governor Mike Braun met with mayors and emergency personnel in Lake County, Indiana yesterday.
All of our resources will be attentive. We were up here yesterday, and we will pour the coals to it to make sure that we get things back in order. Again, up here, it's going to be power restoration, a lot of cleanup. As you go south, it's going to be more involving damage from heavy rain.
250,000 NIPSCO customers remain without power in what is being called the largest outage in company history in Northwest Indiana. Staying in Northwest Indiana, Bears executives are expected to deliver an update today on the team's stadium plan, which apparently center on Hammond, Indiana, according to Mayor Thomas McDermott.
And I do know there's extensive testing going on. Even right now, I had one of the local businesses in the new footprint call me and say, hey, they're boring holes currently. So that's the issue of the day between us and the Bears.
Team sources downplayed the significance yesterday of the update today, describing it as a usual preseason Bears availability for executives. Chicago sports, Alex Bregman, Dansby Swanson and company had signature performances yesterday in a 12-6 dismantling of the Nationals. Bregman, 3 home runs and 7 RBI in the Cubs win. White Sox newcomer Luis Castillo gave up just a single base knock. White Sox 2-hit the Reds in a 5-0 win. The news service of the AM 560 Advantage, where you can join today at 560theanswer.com/join. A check of traffic and weather coming up next on AM 560.
Sean Fest returns on August 28th at the Westin Chicago Northwest in Itasca. Be a part of a live, on-location broadcast of The Sean Thompson Show, including a performance of the national anthem, followed by live music, food, drinks, and an opportunity to meet Sean Thompson. Registration is free. Go to 560theanswer.com/SeanFest. That's 560theanswer.com/SHAUN Fest. Sponsored in part by Class A Insurance, owned by Thomas Iacenta.
Hi, I'm Ken Mariotti, owner of Woodland Windows and Doors, a third-generation family-owned business since 1969. We know you're bombarded by choices when shopping for new windows or doors, so we're inviting you to experience the Woodland difference. For decades, we have been transforming living spaces with Marvin Windows, a fifth-generation family business. Marvin replacement windows have been known to increase the warmth of your cold rooms by 10 degrees. Think about that, 10 degrees warmer. When you welcome Woodland into your home, you will get a product expert to transform your living spaces, full-time, dedicated professional installers that you can trust in your home, along with the best products like Marvin. These are the reasons we're proud of our 5-star reviews and family legacy. No gimmicks, no pressure, and upfront pricing are why Woodland Windows and Doors is your trusted window and door expert in Chicagoland. Visit woodlandwindows.com to book your free in-home expert consultation. That's woodlandwindows.com, or stop by our showroom at the corner of Lake and Geary in Roselle.
My name is Whitney Allen, and I'm a widow. My husband, Ryan, died. We never thought we'd ever have to use life insurance, but the unexpected happened. With Ethos, signing up was fast and 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. No medical exams, and you can get up to $3 million worth of coverage. I'm grateful we were prepared.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/term. That's ethos.com/term. Paid spokesperson. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
Everywhere you look, things are getting more expensive. But at Consumer Cellular, we're lowering the price for those 50 and up. Now you can get unlimited everything for just $35 a line. That's $35 a month for unlimited talk, text, and data. Switch to the carrier ranked #1 in network coverage and customer satisfaction and get unlimited everything for just $35 a month. Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit Consumer Cellular online or in-store today. Price includes $5 credit for autopay and e-billing. Taxes and fees apply. Data speeds reduced after 35 gigabytes. Rankings done by 2025 ACSI survey.
I remember sitting in the kitchen, heartbroken, overwhelmed, staring at costs and a list of decisions. I prayed for strength and reached out to Catholic Cemeteries of Chicago, only to hear that Mom had already pre-planned everything so my siblings and I would be protected. Because she planned ahead, we weren't pulled apart by heartbreaking decisions.
Visit CatholicCemeteriesChicago.org or call 708-236-5400 to schedule a free consultation.
Maybe you've thought about taking a cruise. Maybe you've even talked yourself out of it. But this is not just another vacation. This is the Gulf of America cruise. 7 days through the Caribbean with Mike Gallagher, Scott Jennings, Larry O'Connor, Jennifer Horn, and a ship full of people who love this country. No packing and unpacking, no complicated planning, just great destinations, meaningful conversations, and a once-in-a-generation celebration of America's 250th. This November, be there. Text CRUISE to 94878 to book your cabin today.
7:08, Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. Want to remind folks who might normally take the South Shore Line trains, the Lakeshore corridor between Millennium Station and the South Bend Airport. Very limited schedule, all due to Tuesday's storm damage in Northwest Indiana. In Glenwood, a reminder that Main Street, east and westbound, is blocked due to major storm damage there. You really can't get through. 8094 westbound Klein Avenue to Calumet, you're on the delay. Road work on Route 53 slowing up things. Northbound between the Ike and Kirchhoff. And a report of an accident just into the traffic center. It's on the Dan Ryan outbound at 71st. Traffic, a service of the AM 560 store, t-shirts, hoodies, and more from your favorite AM 560 brands when you go to 560theanswer.com/store. Chicago's Morning Answer continues after we check out the morning forecast in our Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today will be mainly cloudy and humid with a chance of a thunderstorm in some areas late this morning, followed by periods of rain, possibly heavy, and another thunderstorm in the afternoon. Watch out for ponding on streets and highways. The high temperature will reach 77 degrees. I'm meteorologist Jason Catarina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from The Signature, a division of Esquire Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Time now for another reason why Dan Proft is single.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Gentlemen, if this happens to you on your wedding day, then run, don't walk to get an annulment. Hopefully you're in a position where something like that could be obtained. Just relegate it to a terrible error in judgment. This video of a couple's nuptials is making the rounds. The announcement of the couple after the ceremony has been completed. You know the drill. That's how that went for, this is how that went for the couple in question.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to present the newly married couple, Mr. and Mrs. Brandon Key. Mr. Brandon Key and his wife, Regina Alui. You did not tell me that.
I thought you knew.
You didn't tell me that. I thought it was great.
So the officiant announced the couple, Mr. and Mrs. Brandon Key. She turns to him and says, no, I'm Regina Lou, or whatever her name is. And you should see the look on his face. So then he has to re-announce Mr. Brandon Key and Regina Alou, and then you heard you didn't tell me that, like I didn't know I was supposed to do that, and she said she did. So, it's bad enough to do the hyphenated thing. I mean, seriously, do you know, just as an aside, because I was thinking about this, and I don't. Maybe they're out there. Do you know a woman with a hyphenated name based on not wanting to take her husband's name that is not an awful or rawful? Do you know one? 312-642-5600, alphawealthgroup.com. Are there any 3 named conservative women out there? I'm just curious, because I was thinking about this after having to watch this painful video, and none jumped to mind. But also the announcement of the couple, and then she feels the need at that moment. She can't let it go. She turns to him, and then she has to have this sort of awkward follow-up announcement declaring her independence from her husband. How do you think that marriage is going to work out? Now, he might be one of these male impersonators that you find like in downtown Hinsdale. So, maybe he will just allow himself to be rolled over. Sort of sounded like that way. Like, I think he's the one who said, "Oh, no, I loved it." Of course you did. Anyway, that is, you're dating someone like that, or something like that happens. Somebody should have objected. If the male impersonator doesn't have the stones to say, why don't you tamp this down, or just don't do that. If he doesn't have a friend, does he have no male friends? Needs to intervene in that moment. That's just incredible. Glenn in Orlando, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Yeah, good morning, Dan. With the recent breakup of AOC and her fiance, I was thinking now's your chance, Dan. But then I thought, no, you got to spare Dan a life of misery. Spare him that. So maybe your next gig, you can do the new dating game with AOC. You be the moderator and interview the 3 lucky bachelors for AOC. I could see a show like that.
Thanks for the call, Glenn. It's a good idea. My transition. I don't know if this is true. I haven't verified the statistic, but Matt Walsh commenting on this. Marriages where the woman keeps her maiden name are 50% more likely to end in divorce. There's a reason for that. The indication is that it's a leading indicator of where this thing is going because, text 815, yes, me. I assume that's yes, me, a conservative woman who's got a hyphenated last name or kept her last name, or maybe had her husband take her name. I don't know. I'd love for 815 to call in. 708, Kimberly Guilfoyle Newsom. Yeah, that worked out well. Kimberly Guilfoyle Newsom. Oh, we got one. Melody in Woodridge.
Hey, Dan, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm good.
All right. Tell me about it.
So I hyphenated my name. I had Lynn for the middle name, and I decided I didn't like it, and because my last name is Kim. And so I decided I wanted to keep my maiden name and just hyphenated, not in the intention of, if I ever get divorced, I want to go ahead and drop my name. Just was, keep a tradition of my last name.
Okay. And your husband is not a male impersonator?
No.
All right.
No, he's not.
All right. He's a full red-blooded male.
He sure is. And he was not offended, or he didn't think, oh my God, what are you doing? He wasn't crazy or anything saying, oh, don't do that. What are you going to do? Divorce me? But we've been married for 36 years now.
Okay. All right. All right.
So,
I mean, there's always diamonds in the rough out there, I suppose. There's always contraindicators. Okay. All right.
And I think during the time when I got married, it was one of the things to do. I think our plate, we were going to end in divorce. I mean, I had a couple other friends that did the same thing too. And so they've kept their names hyphenated. I don't always write my name hyphenated either. It's not like I run around and say, oh, I got my name hyphenated, or, I'm trying to be edge cutting, but definitely not a liberal.
let me ask you this. When the officiant at your wedding announced, I now give you Mr. and Mrs., how did that go?
Well, so here's the deal. I didn't get married in church. I went to the JP, and so it was low key. And so I didn't have the shock. I mean, if
there was no announcement.
Was like, no, there was no announcement. I mean, the family knew about it, that I did have to name my name, but it wasn't like.
All right. Well, that was you know what? Actually, I respect that. Just go to the JP. I mean, You do it in the church too, but the JP, like, let's not like waste money on the pomp and circumstance. Let's just get this done and get on with our lives. I do respect that. That's good.
So I'll tell you the truth with that is, I mean, the choice was either my parents or we can give you money for a wedding, or you can take the money and put it towards a house. And we couldn't afford it. I mean, I was 21 years old. We couldn't afford to have that big deal. And plus, too, I've got a lot of friends now that have been divorced, and $30,000 they spent, and what do they have? Nothing.
Totally.
Nothing.
You made the right call.
Yeah.
100%. I completely agree.
That.
Thanks for the call, Melody. Appreciate it. All right. So we found at least one. Mike in Plainfield.
Hey, good morning, Dan. So I actually literally just had this conversation with my 21-year-old daughter last night. She leans conservative. She is a lesbian and plans on marrying her woman or whatever, but she said that she stated that she wants to have the hyphenated name, and I was just kind of like, here we go. And then when she explained how she wants to keep like the lineage going and talk about how my grandfather and, her grandpa and then her dad and everybody, we have the name. And she's like, what if, God forbid something happens deep in the family, we want to keep that name going. So I kind of understood that a little bit more, but it's not really a traditional value or role for her anyway, because she's a lesbian, but.
Oh, well, okay. All right. Okay. All right. Thanks for the call, Mike. I get it. Look at this. I got a text from Amy Jacobson. I assume she could let me read this on the air. I would have read it if she was here. She'd send it to me. All right, here's Amy Jacobson's comment on this. I never changed my name. I give that marriage 6 months, so she agrees with me. So I must be in the right direction here. My first marriage ended in divorce. Of course, we all know this. The pastor at my wedding said, I now pronounce you man and wife. Yeah. Well, I mean, but I don't know her first marriage, where she got married. Maybe she'll call in and tell us. But, she goes to that coven in Lakeview that pretends to be a church. So if it was there, of course, I'm surprised you could even get man and wife out of any, officiant at that church. But if it was somewhere else, I don't know. And I think, I don't want to speak out of school, but I think Amy married a beta the first go around. The second go around, much better. Her husband, Chris, is a great guy and like a man. So, you live and you learn, I suppose. Matt in Birmingham, Alabama.
Yes, my wife actually kept her maiden name, very conservative woman. We've been married for 35, going on 36 years. And what had happened is my mom shared the same name as my wife's first name as my wife does. So my mom, early on in our dating, wrote her a letter, and she said, you might be a Carol Henry, but I'll always be the Carol Henry. So my liberal 70s feminist mother poisoned that well, and my wife is like, look, I don't want to deal with this for the rest of our married life. I said, I don't either. She said, I think I'm just going to keep my maiden name. I said, perfect. So 35 going on 36 years of marriage, no issues at all. I love her. And we love each other, and my mom's passed away. That's all done, but she's going to keep her maiden name.
All right. So she got the last laugh, so to speak. Yeah.
Yes, she did.
All right. Thanks, Matt. Sorry for the gallows humor there. Amy Jacobson from Chicago.
Yes, sir. West Lakeview. How are you? The bat signal has been admitted. I'm responding, sir.
First time caller, long time listener.
Exactly. How did you know? What do I win? A T-shirt? Woo!
All right. So did you hear my characterization of your first effort?
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I was going to hyphenate my name and be Amy Jacobson, but I was on TV at the time, and my news director at the time said, I don't think you can pass yourself off as a Puerto Rican, a Boricua. So I just decided to keep Jacobson. Of course, the marriage didn't work, yada, yada. But I have a lot of friends who have hyphenated names, and I can't stand that. Like, just pick a name and stick with it,
Are any of your friends with hyphenated names married to men, though?
One's an impersonator. One's kind of mannish, if you know what I mean.
Uh-huh.
The other one has been completely demasculinized by his wife because she does all the chores and he does nothing. So yeah, it's been fun to watch, that's for sure. But all my nieces, I tell them, when you do get married, just take your husband's last name.
Does the friend who does all the chores and the husband does nothing, does she have a sister? Mark it.
Yeah.
All right.
Just don't change your last name, Dan, okay? And when you get married, I want to be your flower girl.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Amy. Go prep for your show already. All right.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Chris in Hampshire.
Hey, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. So when I got married, I did not change my last name. I got married in my early 30s, and the main reason was because there were already 2 Mrs. Walshes out there.
Oh, there were too many, as you said. Is that what, Walsh? Is that it?
No, there were 2.
Oh, there were 2. Literally 2.
Yeah, I'm number 3.
Oh, I see. I see. I see. Okay. So you wanted a little bit of a distinction from the crowd. Yeah, no, I get
Exactly.
Okay. All right. Very good. Thanks for the call, Chris. Somebody texted in Sarah Huckabee Sanders. Yeah, but that's sort of like the Amy keeping her name for professional reasons. You know, Sarah, you hear Sarah Sanders a lot too. I think she was using the Huckabee for a while because, you know, she was on a Huckabee on the ballot in Arkansas is a helpful name. So I think she's pretty traditional in that way. Matt's outside.
Hey, maybe these liberal women, Dan, aren't changing their last name because they're afraid they won't be able to get a new ID to vote.
Yeah, right. Yeah, thanks, man. They bought into the SAVE Act propaganda. Voting rights are under assault. Brother. Steve in Downers Grove.
Yeah, two very quick comments, Dan. They both kind of related. Some people think, including me, Sarah Huckabee Sanders will be the next Republican nominee for president in 2028. So that'd be kind of cool. Plus, what I really called about was the WNBA seems to have a new national anthem. Shania Twain's song, Man, I Feel Like a Woman.
There you go.
Just wanted you listeners.
There you
to be aware
go.
of that.
Well
Thanks,
done,
Dan.
Steve. Yeah, it's very good. Deborah, Arlington Heights.
Hey, Dan, when it was popular to hyphenate your name, I didn't do it. I changed my name. I got married in church, which at the time they would always say, I now pronounce you man and wife. I did get divorced, unfortunately, but I do not recommend getting married by the justice of the peace at the courthouse because it's extremely impersonal.
Yeah.
When I got remarried, we did it at the courthouse, and I had this whole thing that I wrote, and the guy's like, "We don't have time for that," and I'm like, "What?"
Yeah.
And then he's like,
It's an assembly line here.
thing.
Yeah, I got to turn these things in 2 minutes or less. It's fast food.
Seriously, yeah.
Drive-through marriages.
He's like, "What do you want for $20?" After I said that, I'm like, "What?"
Yeah. Well,
Don't do it.
but this
Don't
is where you you do the private ceremony at the house or something if you want to do things, in a cost-effective way. I agree. But our friend from Woodridge was 21. They were just crazy kids wanting to get that down payment from mom and dad for the house and get on with their lives. I understand. Frank, Board of Trade, this should be good.
My best man from my wedding changed his name to his wife's name after they got married, and that was because he had a unusual name and he was a convicted felon.
Of course. Yeah. Right. Stay one step ahead of the law. That's legitimate. I'll buy that for changing your name to the wife's name. Yeah. Smart. Bill, Northwest Side.
Yeah, Dan, just your opinion. Why on earth do you think guys date and or marry women like that? Is it low self-esteem, low testosterone? What's your opinion on that? Why do you think they set themselves up like this for failure?
Yeah, thanks for the call, Bill. I mean, I don't crawl in the mind of the beta male. It's tough. I think it's probably there's a lot of guys that can't be alone, so you're holding on to whoever they think they can get. They're afraid of the unknown. If they do this, or there has to be somebody better out there for me. I put all this work in on this one, maybe. I don't know. A lot of guys just want a woman to run the household and run over them and just be told what to do. They're not equipped for one reason or the other to be men. You have a lot of grown-up adolescents, both sexes, but a lot of grown-up adolescents, including men. I'm not here always to blame the distaff side. Barb in LaGrange.
Yes. Hi, Dan. I've been listening to you for a long time, so really excited.
Thank you.
But you're welcome. I just wanted to mention my best friend, Laura, and my sister-in-law, Mary Jane, who both kept their maiden names, and they've been married for over 40 years and are very conservative, traditional.
And
Catholic women.
Why did they keep their maiden names?
Well, I have a really awful Polish maiden name. God bless my father. He's not listening anymore. But my sister-in-law didn't want to take that name, and I think my best friend, it was for professional reasons. So.
Okay. All right. Very good. Thanks for the call, Barb. As I said, there are exceptions to the rule, but I think overwhelmingly I'm on pretty solid footing there. Gosh, do we have time for AOC? We'll make time. AOC, we found out, has a split. Now she made a big performative thing about taking hormone treatments to freeze her eggs. And there's a good piece by Caitlin Flanagan in the Free Press about women of a particular age, like 36 or older, freezing their eggs. And you think that's buying you time. And maybe it is. But the success rates are not as high as many women think with respect to freezing eggs and then being able to, have a child. But anyway, AOC broke up with the beta male that she had been dating for a decade or something. But she doesn't want to talk about her private life. She only wants to put her midriff on display while she's in the process of freezing her eggs. Like that's her public life.
Just wondering, are you and Riley Roberts still together?
I don't comment on my private life, but thank you.
Yeah, right.
Your mother once said she loves Riley and wants to see you guys get married. Is she going to get her wish?
Again, I don't comment on my private life, but thank you.
Is there anything at all you can tell us about the relationship?
No, I'm sorry, thank you.
AOC eschewing the paparazzi, huh? Well, this is the type of male, for people that are trying to understand this, that takes their wife, that has the wife with the hyphenated name, or maybe even goes so far as to take the wife's name, and he's not a convicted felon, unlike Frank from the Board of Trade's buddy. This is AOC and Riley Roberts in Happier Times.
So, Riley, what has been helpful to you in combating racism?
I think it's helpful and important to talk to other white people about racism. And I think a lot of people, they don't want to be racist. They don't think that they're racist, but they also don't know some of the things that they believe or say are and can be racist. And I think one of the effective ways is just to talk and kind of help teach them about why some of the things they believe or say or think are wrong, not necessarily racist, but that they're wrong. And that'll sort of chip away and, contribute to some development in this area, but not necessarily take somebody from being a racist to not being a racist in one conversation.
And it's just always being open to learning about racist things that we may have said or done without judgment and defensiveness.
What a bitch that Riley was. And the funny thing about it is, she has no respect for him. It was inevitable. And she'll run over him for a while until it gets problematic, or she doesn't need his financial underwriting anymore, since, he didn't have to disclose his economic particulars because they weren't married. So maybe that was one of the reasons they were in this stasis for so long. But anyway, that Riley Roberts, you know the profile, and you know how it ends.
The stories you need to know to start your day. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer. It's news, opinion, and insight at the speed of your life. Streaming at 560theanswer.com on the AM 560 mobile app, or tell your smart speaker to play The Answer Chicago.
7:33, 72 degrees, and a dense fog advisory is up near Joliet, Morris, Peru. Your visibility at a quarter of a mile up near Kenosha. Right now on the Wisconsin and Illinois state line, visibility's down to around 0 in spots. And we're watching a developing story this morning in the city of Chicago where 3 are shot, 1 killed, driving on Chicago's south side early this morning. The shooting happened around 3 a.m. A 54-year-old man was shot in the head and back, according to Chicago police, rushed to the nearby University of Chicago Trauma Center. That person later died. Indiana Governor Mike Braun met with mayors and emergency personnel in Lake County, Indiana, dealing with the massive storm cleanup there.
All of our resources will be attentive. We were up here yesterday, and we will pour the coals to it to make sure that we get things back in order. Again, up here, it's going to be power restoration, a lot of cleanup. As you go south, it's going to be more involving damage from heavy rain.
250,000 NIPSCO customers this morning remain without power in what the company calls their largest outage ever. Staying in Northwest Indiana, Bear executives are expected to deliver an update today on the team's stadium plans, which officials in Indiana say continue to center on Hammond. Hammond Mayor Thomas McDermott yesterday.
And I do know there's extensive testing going on. Even right now, I had one of the local businesses in the new footprint call me and say, hey, they're boring holes currently. So that's the issue of the day between us and the Bears.
Iran says the Strait of Hormuz must stay closed until the U.S. accepts all of its conditions. The Justice Department is announcing an arrest in what's being called an elaborate sham marriage scheme involving Chinese citizens.
Pairing foreign nationals seeking immigration status with United States citizens willing to participate and engage in a sham marriage.
New Attorney General Todd Blanche, a winning ticket in Wednesday's billion-dollar Powerball drawing, sold right here in the state of Illinois near the town of Quincy. Pretty big jackpot, cash value of more than $450 million. Chicago sports. Cubs got a signature performance from Alex Bregman in a 12-6 dismantling of the Nationals. Bregman had a career-high 3 home runs in the Cubs' win. White Sox newcomer Luis Castillo gave up 1 base knock over 7 strong innings. White Sox 2 hit the Reds in a 5-0 home win. The news service of the daily podcast of Chicago's Morning Answer and the Sean Thompson Show. Subscribe free at 560theanswer.com/podcast. A check of traffic and weather coming up next on AM 560.
Scott Jennings sees some advantages this election.
One of them is, after all the redistricting fights, it seems to me the Republicans probably have netted out 10 to 12 seats here. That's number one. Number two, it strikes me that the Democrats in a lot of these purple districts have been nominating candidates who are way outside the mainstream.
The Scott Jennings Show, weekdays at noon, right before Hugh Hewitt at 2 on AM 560. The Answer.
Hamilton Sundstrand Corporation has an opening for a principal engineer, software engineering. This is a hybrid position, must work in Rockford, Illinois office 4 days per week. Can work remotely within the U.S. 1 day per week if business allows. Job duties include designing, developing, documenting, testing and designing control and diagnostic systems that contain logical and mathematical solutions. This position requires a bachelor's degree or its equivalent in computer science, electrical engineering, or related field, or at least 8 years of progressive experience as a software engineer or related role. In the alternative, at least a master's degree or its equivalent in computer science, electrical engineering, or related field, and at least 5 years of experience as a software engineer or related role would be acceptable. Salary range is $135,262 to $204,500. Apply for this position at careers.rtx.com by entering keyword or job ID 018-63395.
You've worked hard for everything you have, your home, your investments, your real estate. When you're gone, someone has to manage it. Choosing the right trustee or executor is one of the most important decisions you'll make.
We kept putting it off. We figured our oldest would handle everything.
Then we thought, what if something happens to him?
Or what if the kids can't agree? We've seen money tear families apart.
We called Home State Bank, and I wish we'd done it sooner. Home State Bank serves as trustee or executor for families across Northern Illinois, stepping in as the professional, impartial manager of your estate so your family doesn't have to carry that burden. They don't take sides, and they'll carry out your wishes exactly as you intended. Take the first step today by calling 815-459-2000 to meet with a trust officer face-to-face. Again, that's 815-459-2000. Home State Bank. Hometown professionals working together to build a stronger community since 1915.
Summer in Chicago. Don't spend it painting. Do what your neighbor Ken did. He called Rhino Shield.
We bought the house 30 years ago in 1995. It's cedar lap siding. The stain that was put on the house, it only lasted about 7 years.
You see, Rhino Shield ceramic technology is formulated specifically for our unique climate right here in Chicago and stands up to our extreme temperature swings.
And then I saw a house that was done in Rhino Shield, and it looked absolutely gorgeous. And I started hearing about the fact that it's got a 25-year warranty on it that's transferable.
Rhino Shield resists chipping, flaking, and peeling, and it is backed by our extraordinary 25-year warranty.
While it costs more initially for Rhino Shield, over the life of the product, it's a lot less.
Chicago, get the guaranteed protection of Rhino Shield right now for 10% off the regular price. This offer is for a limited time, so call now, 847-850-1132 or ChicagoRhinoShield.com.
Go Rhino Shield.
Sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Protect your family, your phone, and your furry friends with life, electronic device, and pet health insurance.
Hochberg Traffic Center time. Accident on the Kennedy. 2 left lanes are blocked outbound at Lawrence. Injuries are possible there as well. Watch out for emergency equipment arriving. Solid traffic on Lakeshore Drive northbound Roosevelt to Monroe. Roadwork zone problems. Route 53 northbound between the Ike and Kirchhoff. Southbound between Palatine and Kirchhoff. And uncertain, we don't want to speculate in the newsroom as to why there is a person on a billboard overlooking the Bishop Ford this morning at 170th and Van Dam Road, but the rumors are they're upset that Dan Proft has not hyphenated his name yet. We'll check into that for you. Chicago's Morning Answer continues after we check out the morning forecast in our Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center. Humid, fog, thunderstorms late this morning, likely more into the early afternoon, and a high of 81.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is sponsored by Saving the American Dream with Jim Martyr, Faith, Family, Freedom. This Saturday evening at 7 on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from The Signature, a division of Esquire Bank Studios. Sean Fest returns on August 28th at the Westin Chicago Northwest in Itasca. Registration is free. Go to 560theanswer.com/SHAUN Fest.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. The fall of Jason Arday, the celebrated sociology professor, University of Cambridge. It's another cautionary tale about higher education in the West, like the essay we poured over in the Atlantic yesterday by that Bates College comparative lit professor. Really good. the Arday story in some.
I'm Professor of Sociology of Education at the University of Cambridge.
3 years ago, Jason Arday became the youngest ever black professor appointed at Cambridge University, an 800-year-old institution.
Professor Jason Arday joins us now.
He was interviewed about the achievement on CBS News.
If I'm being absolutely candid and honest, not many teachers at school had any belief in me.
Now Arday has fallen from grace, accused of plagiarising some of his academic writing and lying about claims he ran 600 miles in 6 days to raise money for charity. The scandal's front-page news here in the UK, and the former Professor of Sociology of Education has now resigned, saying in a statement that it should not be mistaken for an acceptance of the narratives that have surrounded him. Cambridge University says it's launched an investigation.
Yeah.
There are now questions about Arday's autobiography, scheduled to be published this month. Holly Williams, CBS News, London.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing suspicious in his background. Non-verbally autistic until age 12, couldn't read or write until 18, dyslexic, epileptic because he was beaten by 4 boys who he forgave. 2 of the boys took his class and hugged him. He had a brain tumor, a mini stroke, and memory loss. He ran 30 marathons in 35 days, including one with a broken leg. I'm sorry. Yeah, that was number 20. His 20th marathon, he fell and broke his fibula, but he ran 10 more marathons in that time period anyway. And that was all received without skepticism from the academic elites at the University of Cambridge. Of course it was. Because he was one of the most talented minds of his generation, as evidenced by these deep thoughts on topics like meritocracy.
Meritocracy is it's great in theory, but in actual practice, it falls time and time and time again because meritocracy in itself is not equal. There is no equity in meritocracy. Only a small proportion or certain group of people from society benefit from meritocracy.
And we know equality and equity are not synonyms, but antonyms. I don't know if he was conflating the two purposefully or not. I'm guessing not, based on the quality of his communications, work product. Anyway, a lot of academics have been weighing in on this, but I like this piece in Unheard by a former student of Jason Arday's at Roehampton. She's writing under the pseudonym Fiona Brown, and she offers Jason Arday in the context of the parable of the post turtle, where a farmer finds a turtle stuck on a fence post. That post turtle didn't get up there by himself, the farmer says. He doesn't belong there. And you wonder who put him there. He has no idea what to do while he's up there. And having been elevated beyond his ability to function, he's never going to get anything done while he's there. He adds, you just want to help the poor bugger get down, and you can't help but wonder what kind of idiot put him up there in the first place. It's a question Arday's many backers may now wish to ask. Zing. Just quickly, in terms of what she had to say about her experience, the song lyrics were the first red flag. The way he'd ramble about Tinny Tempa or Eminem, or how black artists like Beyonce were sexualized by white men without offering any evidence to substantiate his claims. Or else there were the film clips from Fish Tank and Kidulthood, which he'd tell us to discuss without offering any guidance on how to do so. And this was, if he was even in the classroom at all, he often arrived late and left early, once teaching for a single hour when 4 were scheduled. When I saw Jason Arday's name in the news, my first thought was, finally. As a student on the education module Arday taught at the University of Roehampton back in autumn of 2018, a module replete with music but shockingly light on education, I can't help but having thoughts on the story that has unfolded on the last couple of years, the real surprise being that it didn't come out sooner. And she goes on to detail just how flimsy his class and instruction were. For more on the topic, Dominic Green joins us, columnist for the Washington Examiner, contributor to the Wall Street Journal, and fellow of the Rural Historical Society. Dominic Green, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hello, Dan.
Jason Arday's fall from grace, as anybody at Cambridge or in higher education there in the UK offered mea culpas, regaled people with lessons learned?
I mean, Cambridge gave us, the most famous Soviet spies in the 20th century, and they haven't apologized for that yet. They haven't apologized for any of this. What they have done is locked down their Department of Education's website so that people can't find out who else they've hired and start looking into their research and their PhDs. Because the fact is, as we know, universities are riddled with this kind of nonsense. Jason Arday is the British equivalent, say, of Claudine Gay of Harvard, who, apart from being a half-wit, was found to be an imposter as well. Education is one of those fields which is ruining everybody's lives by training up large numbers of idiots in doctrines which have no bearing upon reality and then spoiling our children's lives with that. The more you look into it, the worse it gets. So no wonder they're in defensive mode. And even a couple of their professors are saying, no, this is all, motivated by racism, or, it's bigotry and so on, or it's the right in attack mode, pouncing, as we say. It's none of these things. It's quite obvious that Jason Arday is a fantasist and an imposter. He has added greatly to the gaiety of the nation. I will give him that. And I have a sort of sneaking admiration in a way, because the lies that he has told are so fantastical that I think it must have been very exciting for him, and it must have been very rewarding for all the people who chose to believe these things. I find it so astounding that some of the cleverest people could be so stupid. And it does sort of fit the pattern. The people we have across our institutions are the kind who, as the old joke would go, cannot change a light bulb.
Well, now is his autobiography still moving forward? I thought he got like a 7-figure advance. Was it from Simon Schuster? And
yes.
and it hasn't been canceled, right?
I'm delighted to report that they're going to issue this book, which is obviously a tissue of lies. And I have no doubt that there will be further revelations about its essentially fictional content. In fact, the smart thing they should do is issue it in their fiction line rather than as autobiography. It's called Great and Unfortunate Things, which is a pretty good summary of everything that's happened to him. And as everything is now examined by online detectives, people have pointed out that he lifted the title from a TV series. The man is a total charlatan. I would have asked him to join us, but he's climbing Mount Everest on his hands and knees at the moment. He said he couldn't be here.
Yeah. I mean, that guy never stops. He's just a dynamo. I'm not surprised to hear that. I'm thinking maybe like he and Jussie Smollett could do like a remake of Good Will Hunting or something, so where they could apply their respective, bring their respective cachet to the table, something like that.
Yes, and there is a thing. Look, I mean, people want to be fooled. And in the case of everybody who took up Jussie Smollett's claims, of this being MAGA country, and the people who took up Jason Arday, if they want to be fooled, then there'll always be people who supplied, the demand. There are incentives being created for people to masquerade as things that they are not and to play a role in a largely fictional political drama. And so long as we give, jobs and money to people, they quite reasonably will think, well, why not? It's extremely destructive to our trust in institutions. The educational system, meanwhile, heads south at a never faster rate. But as I said, we at least can laugh. But this kind of thing, every time it happens, is an alarm bell at the core of our society, because we cannot have a functioning society if we don't have basic education systems. And as we know, literacy is declining, not growing. Literacy improved for more than 100 years, and now we're becoming largely post-literate. That's not good. And people like Jason Arday are accelerating that process. So there's a very serious question here.
Well, it is, and I mean, this is basically another instance of a race hoax, and it's the story you were sort of intimating. It's the story of where racism doesn't exist. We're going to find it because we need to prop up the story that we're railing against it. That's our raison d'etre, to combat the oppressive white patriarchies of the West.
I'm afraid that it is that simple, and that is the doctrine which is being promoted. I mean, the minute people started looking into the Department of Education at Cambridge, it basically started looking like the Department of Education in Cambridge, Mass. at Harvard University. It turned out but one of the senior staffers is previously a member of a banned Islamist terrorist group who was of the opinion that Western-style education was antithetical to Islam and that Muslims should avoid it. And Cambridge gave her a job as one of the leading educational theorists in Britain. So if you carry on like that, and as I say, you basically trash your institutions and it starts to pull apart the society.
Well, we were talking about this too. I read that story about this woman named Farah Ahmed. That's her name.
Yes, I'll be enrolling her courses in September if I can.
Yeah. I mean, this prompted Gerard Baker over at the Wall Street Journal call for a shutdown of Cambridge University until we can figure out what the hell is going on. But the problem is...
I've long felt this way, Dan. As an Oxford man, I've been saying this all my life.
Yeah. But well, one, you're not going to get the university to shut itself down. But number two, we do know what's going on. I mean, it's not like they're subtle about it.
No, they're not. And the thing is, they are wholly dependent upon government funding in ways that even compared to the Ivy League universities, the British universities really are dependent upon the government funding. They have turned into, over time, an arm, effectively, of the state, good and bad. And in this case, this is, as I said, this is on the state as well, because the state promotes the same silly political correctness and the same nonsensical doctrines and pushes them into the schools that taxpayers are funding. So I'm afraid to say, it's easy for us to laugh at the academics because frequently they are delusional and malicious. But I'm afraid the rot reaches further in. This is Cambridge is, until last week anyway, was a respectable partner of the British state, and it's the rot in the state that has also encouraged this, I'm afraid to say.
Dominic Green, columnist for the Washington Examiner, contributor to the Wall Street Journal, and fellow of the Royal Historical Society. Dominic, thank you as always.
Thank you.
And Dominic joined us on the AlfWealthGroup.com answer line.
The more you listen, the more you'll know. This is Chicago's Morning Answer. Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Welcome back to Ask Hasslis. I'm Weston. What's your question?
Is this one of those viral pranks?
Beg your pardon?
I think you promote Hasslis Mattresses employee-free showrooms just to lure me in so you can film a practical joke on me to go viral.
Sir, I assure you, we take employee-free mattress shopping very seriously.
What do? Tie me to a bed and spray me with silly string?
We simply let you try our selection of Beautyrest, Sealy Posturepedic, and more without commission-crazy salespeople breathing down your neck.
Uh-huh, good one.
Others sell a Beauty Sleep by Beautyrest Queen Elm Cove A mattress for $1,599, but Hasslis has it for just $794.
Sure you do.
And through Monday, get a free adjustable base with the purchase of a select Sealy Posturepedic or Beautyrest mattress, plus free next-day delivery.
So shopping at Hasslis won't make me TikTok famous?
Absolutely not.
Darn.
Open 9 to 9. Find an employee-free showroom near you or shop online at Hasslis.com.
Hi, it's Amy Jacobson, and last year I hired Level 10 Coatings to give my garage floor a total makeover, and I am loving it. It still looks great, shiny, and clean. Level 10 Coatings. Now, you've got to call these guys if your garage floor is cracked, stained, still covered in salt. Don't live like that. Get it done now so you can enjoy it this summer. Level 10 Coatings. They're fast, reliable, and highly professional. Guess what? I went to work. When I came home, it was done. A shiny new gleaming garage floor. A quick, easy fix. And it's guaranteed never to chip or peel. Why? It's not an epoxy job. It's better. Level 10 uses polyurea, which is much better than epoxy. So schedule your free quote today and mention me, Amy, to receive $500 off. Visit level10coatings.com. That's level, the number 10, coatings.com. Or call 855-510-2628. Staff are local and ready to answer questions. Level 10 Coatings, your premier concrete coating experts.
Are you turning 65 and thinking about Medicare? Or are you over 65 and haven't enrolled yet because you still have coverage at work? Either way, Medicare done correctly will be the best health insurance you will ever have. Imagine having an annual deductible of only $283. There are only two good things about aging, wisdom and Medicare. But to navigate the Medicare maze properly, you need a mentor. Best part? My guidance costs you nothing. Call me. I can help.
If you're tired of calling a bureaucrat at an 800 number to help you navigate Medicare, then you need a local expert on your side. Your own health insurance mentor. C. Stephen Tucker from healthinsurancementors.com is someone I know and trust. He's a 30-year licensed broker who's been educating our listeners for more than a decade. Steve, how can our listeners get in touch with you?
Thanks, Dan. They can visit healthinsurancementors.com or call me directly at 630-674-1551. That's 630-674-1551.
You've worked hard for everything you have, your home, your investments, your real estate. When you're gone, someone has to manage it. Choosing the right trustee or executor is one of the most important decisions you'll make.
We kept putting it off. We figured our oldest would handle everything.
Then we thought, what if something happens to him?
Or what if the kids can't agree? We've seen money tear families apart.
We called Home State Bank, and I wish we'd done it sooner. Home State Bank serves as trustee or executor for families across Northern Illinois, stepping in as the professional, impartial manager of your estate so your family doesn't have to carry that burden. They don't take sides, and they'll carry out your wishes exactly as you intended. Take the first step today by calling 815-459-2000 to meet with a trust officer face-to-face. Again, that's 815-459-2000. Home State Bank. Hometown professionals working together to build a stronger community since 1915.
Foundations of Freedom, a look at America's founding principles and the leaders who shaped our nation.
In 1783, the Revolutionary War was nearly over, but America's future remained uncertain. Officers in the Continental Army were angry. Congress had failed to provide promised pay, and some considered using the Army's power to force the government's hand. George Washington understood their frustration, but he also knew the liberty they had fought to win could be destroyed by the very army that secured it. Washington confronted his officers and urged them to choose honor, patience, and loyalty to the Republic over rebellion. He could have used their anger to increase his own power. Instead, he used his influence to restrain it. Power asks what it can take. Character asks what duty requires. Washington's lesson still stands. Freedom survives when leaders place principle above ambition and remain faithful to God, country, and the people they serve.
Don't miss In Grace with Pastor Jim Scudder Jr., now heard on Sunday mornings at 7:30. Tune in and find hope as Jim Scudder explores God's Word and His world each Sunday morning right here on AM 560, The Answer. AM 560, The Answer.
Coming up at 8:08, this should be an inspirational story for Illinoisans. Founder of Maine Girl Dads and the principal officer of Protect Girls Sports in Maine Ballot Committee. If it can happen in Maine, it can happen anywhere. Leland Strife joins us to talk about his leadership in protecting girls' sports in Maine. 8:08, now 8 o'clock, AM 560, WIND Chicago.
80 ships that want to go through the Strait of Hormuz need permission. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. That's what Iran's top joint military command just said after months of attacks on ships. This the day after the president insisted the U.S. controls the strait.
With no diplomatic breakthroughs, tension remains high across the Middle East as questions loom about the future of the region and whether or not a deal can be reached on this critical waterway. The Persian Gulf Strait Authority, an Iranian government agency, said Wednesday claims and repeated posts by U.S. officials that the Strait of Hormuz is no longer blocked do not change the reality. The Strait of Hormuz remains blocked and will not be reopened until Iran's conditions are accepted.
Fox's Trey Yingst in Tel Aviv. Oil prices are down more than 2%, but at the gas pump, a 4-cent increase today. AAA's national average for regular $4.07 a gallon is the highest price in August ever. We just got another tame inflation update.
Inflation remained tame at the wholesale level. The PPI was flat.
In addition to no change in producer prices from June, Fox's Jeannie Casolo reports the annual rate fell.
For the year ending in July, the PPI moderated to 4.7%.
The Army is trying to figure out what went horribly wrong on an Apache helicopter training flight that went down after takeoff from Fort Hood, killing both soldiers on board.
It crashed into a field. You could tell it was a violent crash.
So violent, Bell County Sheriff spokesman Cliff Coleman says it sparked a fire, forcing people to evacuate some homes. Luigi Mangione returns to court tomorrow in New York City. A hearing set up in the federal case against him weeks before Mangione goes on trial in state court, charged with murder in the 2024 shooting death of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson.
There were reports of federal plea discussions earlier this summer, but those talks didn't go anywhere. So in federal court, he faces 2 counts of stalking and could spend up to life behind bars if convicted.
Fox's Chanley Painter. Somebody in Illinois may soon quit their job after striking it rich. The Powerball ticket they bought at a gas station in Quincy is worth just over $1 billion. America's listening to Fox News. 71 degrees, a dense fog advisory up until 9 a.m. I'm Mike Scott in the QC Kinetics newsroom. 3 were shot, 1 killed, driving on Chicago's South Side this morning. The shooting erupted around 3 a.m. near 71st and Champlain. Crews continue assessing damage caused by storms that crossed the Chicago area and northwest Indiana on Tuesday. The National Weather Service confirms at least 5 tornadoes struck the area. Meantime, northwest Indiana is the center of destruction and power outages this morning. Indiana Governor Mike Braun is there.
All of our resources will be attentive. We were up here yesterday, and we will pour the coals to it to make sure that we get things back in order. Again, up here, it's going to be power restoration, a lot of cleanup. As you go south, it's going to be more involving damage from heavy rain.
250,000 NIPSCO customers remain without power in what is being called the largest outage in company history. Staying in northwest Indiana, Bears executives are expected to deliver an update today on the team's stadium plans. While visiting storm damage, Indiana Governor Mike Braun reiterated his confidence the Bears stadium project will be centered in Hammond.
When we get this across the finish line, we're in the due diligence stage. It's going to be one of the biggest things that's ever occurred to our state, not to mention the region. So we're doing everything you need to do to make sure we get it done.
Team sources are downplaying the significance of today's update, describing it as the Bears' usual preseason availability for executives. Cubs dismantled the Nationals 12-6, while the White Sox blanked the Reds 5-0. The news a service of the AM 560 Advantage, where membership has its privileges. Join today at 560theanswer.com/join. Time now for the AM 560 Business Beat, a service of Signature, a division of Esquire Bank.
I'm Charles Payne, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Danish shipping giant Maersk is making more despite disruptions caused by the Mideast conflict. Its revenue jumped 23% in the recent quarter because it could charge more for freight, and it's also seeing more demand for shipping. Maersk reported an upbeat profit. It's raising expectations for the year. The conflict in the Middle East has disrupted key shipping routes and is forcing carriers to divert ships around Africa and pay more for fuel, insurance, and operating costs. However, it was able to offset those costs. It's raising expectations for the year. Cisco Systems shares are down 6%, though its profit rose from a year ago. And the Wall Street Journal says Apple, Nike, and FedEx are among companies recovering big tariff refunds, and some are passing on at least a portion of it to customers. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Jenny Coselda. Invested in you.
Sean Fest returns on August 28th at the Westin Chicago Northwest in Itasca. Be a part of a live, on-location broadcast of The Sean Thompson Show, including a performance of the national anthem, followed by live music, food, drinks, and an opportunity to meet Sean Thompson. Registration is free. Go to 560theanswer.com/SeanFest. That's 560theanswer.com/SHAUN Fest. Sponsored in part by Virago and by State Farm Insurance Agent Anthony DeGrotto.
Your kitchen's outdated. Your bathroom feels cramped. Every day you wait, prices go up. And you keep living in a space that doesn't work. At Forever Remodeling, one team handles everything. Design, planning, and installation, start to finish. We show you your new space in 3D before we ever break ground. No surprises. With flexible financing options, the home you want is closer than you think. Visit foreverremodeling.com. That's the number 4everremodeling.com to schedule your personalized in-home design consultation.
Hi, I'm Dr. Huber with Virago, the Immune Enhancement Cocktail. Did you know it has 23 natural ingredients in it that work together synergistically? We have nutraceuticals like quercetin, luteolin, fisetin, and lactoferrin. Each of them has such great properties in themselves. Together, they synergistically create a really powerful super immune boost. Not only that, Virago includes specialized mitochondrial energy factors like R-alpha-lipoic acid, CoQ10, and resveratrol to give your cells the energy they need to power your immune system. The ultimate immune boost starts with Virago. Discover Virago today. Join me Friday, August 28th at Sean Fest and hear me interviewed by the great Sean Thompson, a true patriot.
Order your bottle of Virago today. Visit myvirago.com. Use the coupon code IMMUNE to save 30%. Maha and Virago, making America healthy again.
If you're a tax-paying, law-abiding lover of America and the American dream, you need to be listening to Saving the American Dream with Jim Martyr. Every Saturday at 7 p.m., Jim tackles the issues that matter most: faith, family, freedom, and the fight to protect life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Saving the American Dream with Jim Martyr, heard Saturday evenings at 7, right here on AM 560 The Answer. Podcasts available at 560theanswer.com.
My name is Whitney Allen, and I'm a widow. My husband, Ryan, died. We never thought we'd ever have to use life insurance, but the unexpected happened. With Ethos, signing up was fast and 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. No medical exams, and you can get up to $3 million worth of coverage. I'm grateful we were prepared.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/term. That's ethos.com/term. Paid spokesperson. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
Everywhere you look, things are getting more expensive. But at Consumer Cellular, we're lowering the price for those 50 and up. Now you can get unlimited everything for just $35 a line. That's $35 a month for unlimited talk, text, and data. Switch to the carrier ranked #1 in network coverage and customer satisfaction and get unlimited everything for just $35 a month. Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit Consumer Cellular online or in-store today. Price includes $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. Taxes and fees apply. Data speeds reduced after 35 gigabytes. Rankings done by 2025 ACSI survey.
Take the journey of living a happy, successful, and meaningful life through God. Listen to It's Time with Dan Lights, Sunday mornings at 9 on our sister station, AM 1160. Hope for your life.
8:09, Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. Police have updated us on two situations. One, near Glenwood Dyer Road and the Bishop Ford, that's shut down because of police activity. The Ford itself shut down inbound between 8094 and 159. Police and fire activity. That is the site where someone decided that they wanted to climb a billboard this morning near 170th and Van Dam Road. South Holland Fire is on the scene there. Interior expressways slowed up on the Kennedy inbound, Addison to Lake. On the Ike inbound, stop and go outbound, Costner to Des Plaines Avenue, and delays on I-57. A disabled vehicle being shoved off onto the left shoulder, that's inbound at Halstead. Traffic, a service of Fox Valley Coins. No waiting, no problems, no charge for in-store appraisals. Bring your gold or silver in today, foxvalleycoins.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues after we check the morning forecast in our Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today will be mainly cloudy and humid with a chance of a thunderstorm in some areas late this morning. This will be followed by periods of rain, at times heavy, and another thunderstorm in the afternoon. Be cautious as there may be ponding on streets and highways. The high temperature will reach 77 degrees. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature, a division of Esquire Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. This story I read in the National Catholic Register got me thinking maybe the way to bring energy back to sane public policy making in Illinois is to recruit graduates of small liberal Catholic art schools. I mean, small Catholic liberal art schools, I should say. Catholic arts. Small Catholic liberal art schools. I mean, real Catholic schools. Not like Loyola or DePaul or Notre Dame, where the Catholicism is ornamental, like just a marketing bullet point. I mean, like a University of Dallas and Franciscan University, where our next guest and his wife matriculated respectively. Because Leyland Strife, who is a recent resident of the great state of Maine that I just visited for the first time, he is leading the charge for a ballot initiative in the state of Maine, home of Stephen King, to inculcate the policy that only girls can play girl sports. And, of course, the polling on this in Maine, like most places, a supermajority support the position. But the political power structure in Maine does not, and so they have sidelined that initiative from appearing on the November ballot to this point, the state-level individuals. It's a signature initiative. You have to get so many signatures to get the ballot question put on the ballot. They got the number of signatures, but then the parties that be moved to disqualify some, and this has become a court battle that I guess now has been removed to federal court. But just a couple years in Maine, but I guess in part, I mean, certainly that's what I read from the piece, in part motivated by his faith, Leyland Strife is taking up this cause of protecting girls' sports for girls. He joins us now. He's the founder of Maine Girl Dads and principal officer of the Protect Girls Sports in Maine Ballot Committee. Leyland Strife, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. So
I guess tell us the motivation, if I'm at least partially correct, to take up this this charge and where things stand at present with 90 days to the election.
Yeah, I mean, I think the motivation to do this is from a couple of things. From an actual perspective of what's going on the ground here in Maine. I have kids. They span from 7 years old up to 13 years old. And when I moved up here, I saw that the gender ideology was something that was everywhere in every institution, from school to camps. They were trying to talk to and teach my kids about this stuff. As I started to get more involved in the community up here, I saw how ingrained it was, specifically in the public school institutions across our state. I started to understand that there were males in every single school identifying as girls going into bathrooms and locker rooms. There were males the year that I moved here that were winning girls' state championships, including the state championship for pole vaulting, where the male jumped 6 inches higher than the girl that was given second place. And not only was that enough to displace that one girl, it displaced all of the teams by giving that male's team enough points to take first place for the state. So over 100 girls were displaced just off of that one event. So I looked at that and started to get involved. I helped start Maine Girl Dads. We were a coalition of over 8,000 dads of across the entire political spectrum that got together and petitioned the Maine Principals Association and said, hey, you got to change the policy, aligned to federal Title IX. This is crazy. The Principals Association decided to do nothing. We were met with silence. We then petitioned, our government, asked them to do something. They were unable to do anything. And at the end of the summer, we're still sort of behind the scenes, and this is where it came to me that I wanted to be more out in the open, forward-facing, and do something that would put, my sort of social and professional equity at risk, is when we decided to do something that could change our state. And we came together and decided if the state's not going to do something, we as citizens are going to do something. And I started a citizens initiative that I lead here, the Protect Girls Sports in Maine Act, which is to designate school sports participation and facilities by sex. And we launched that in September. And the last thing I'll say about that is sort of motivation to your question. The decision to go from sort of a private understanding and belief and motivation around this issue to a public one was really one of faith. There had been sort of this thing on my heart for a long time that I think really became salient and evident after the murder of Charlie Kirk, where I started to really consider and think about the things that I prayed in the morning versus the things that I said in my house to my kids versus the things that I did out in the world had gaps between them. And I know that I needed to close that. I believe in God. I believe in my own salvation and the fact that I'll be judged as my life ends. And if I'm not willing to stand up for truth for my family, my daughter, but most of all for God, what am I doing on this earth? And that's when I decided I'm going to put things at risk, including my professional and social life, and step out there and lead this initiative and be the spokesperson for this initiative.
And so you put your social equity and professional equity at risk, and how much risk have you incurred, or how much consequence have you incurred so far?
Well, I've got most of the neighbors don't wave at me anymore.
Yeah, there you go.
This is a super majority in the state of support for this. I live in a very liberal town. There are people that know me, given this is a small state, that have seen me on the news, that I'll get dirty looks, and so there are social fallout for sure. From a professional standpoint, I was a partner at the largest professional services firm in the world at the time. This is something that started to put some pressure, started to raise some questions, put pressure on leadership, that there was sort of forced their hand to allow me to do this. I did, though, have the benefit of retiring earlier this year. So, I'm not too worried about the professional pressure. But that being said, if I wanted to re-enter the workforce, if you looked at my name and Googled it a year ago, all it would be was professional accolades as a partner and an executive of advertising agencies. And now if you Googled it, it would just be page after page after page of me leading a quote-unquote anti-trans movement.
Yeah, I guess AOC said Woke 1 was just a crazy weekend bender a few years ago. Woke 2.0 doesn't seem like it's much better. I mean, especially, too, the remarkable thing about this issue, as I mentioned, and as you know, is even in Maine, even in Illinois, even in the bluest of blue states, a supermajority of residents, of voters, support the idea that you're advancing in Maine. But it's that political power structure that is so beholden to a aggressive and vocal minority, and they have disproportionate power because they have sort of institutional control.
Exactly. That's exactly right. And that's why citizens initiatives exist in a lot of states like Maine, where you get elected or prospective officials and all the lobbying groups and the money that sit behind them that have ideas and positions that are radically different than the voting base. I mean, Maine, we trail even other states that have a larger majority than us, but 70% of the state and growing believes that kids should have single-sex sports and spaces in schools. That is a majority of every political party, including Democrats. However, we look at what ends up happening as we see public sentiment around that. What ends up happening after we collect 80,000 signatures above the, versus the 67,000 that we needed to get on the ballot, is that we have groups like the Maine Women's Lobby that somehow finds probably close to $1 million to hire the Mark Elias Law Group and sue the Secretary of State,
Mark Elias,
and sue our group to oppose this being on the ballot. And we have been in a legal battle since March of this year that now has gone through all of the state courts and continues in federal court to keep this on the ballot. We talk about saving democracy, but I guess saving and leveraging democracy and facilitating it only matters when it fits specific personal agendas.
Mark Elias.
Political agendas.
Yeah, right. Mark Elias, of course, he of the Steele dossier. I've had my run-ins with him too. So is this been removed to federal court on this ballot access issue? Where does that stand?
It stands right now in federal court. We had filed a motion for preliminary injunction to put this right back on the ballot. That is now sitting with federal court. We may hear today on the merits of that preliminary injunction. So we're expecting a decision in the next day or two. And that will simply dictate whether or not we get the signatures needed back to go back on the ballot for this November. We're currently 500 below what we need. This decision would bring us back 1,400, which would put us right back on the ballot. And I think the inevitability with all this that people need to understand is, even if for some reason we do not go on the ballot this year, all of the petitions and signatures we got are still valid. We get all of them back and we resubmit them, and we are back on the ballot for the next statewide election, which is going to be next year. So that's what's so crazy about all of this, is all of this fighting from the Elias Law Group, from the Maine Women's Lobby, and these radical groups isn't for anything other than to try to suppress turnout for a vote when they don't want Susan Collins to get reelected this year.
Yeah, exactly.
The fact is this will inevitably be voted upon in our state, and it will inevitably pass because this is what the people of Maine want.
And I mean, not, I always focus on the negative side too. When somebody steps out like you did, I like the way you described that, the gaps in what you prayed in the morning and told your kids versus what you were doing publicly. And we focus on the negatives. Oh, people don't say hi to me, and I'm not invited to the parties anymore. But what about the positives? Not just within your household, but the positives in terms of this experience for you. Can you accentuate some of those?
I can. I mean, I think the positives in my household have been plentiful. I mean, seeing my children, especially my daughter, have moments of realization and come to me and say, I see why you're doing this, Dad, has meant the world to me. In my faith community, I've got a strong community within my church and within my parish. Seeing people from the priests all the way down to parishioners, men in my men's group, that don't feel like they can speak out publicly about this, but talking about how much this means to them, to, people around the community that I can tell are, just pleased and thankful that I'm doing this. I've had athletic directors from different towns that recognize me, that come up to me and thank me and shake my hands. I've had girls. I had an 8th grade girl that came up to me, knew who I was, said thank you to me, said that she felt relieved that dads were finally showing up and were going to help them solve this issue, and told me a story about how she does not change anymore in the locker rooms at school because there's boys that watch her and the other girls change, so she has to change now in a single stall in the bathroom. So getting to talk to not only people in the community, but specifically girls in school that are seeking me out and saying, thank you for what you're doing. I finally feel seen and heard, and like I have some way of solving this problem, definitely keeps me going. And it helps me remember and realize that this is the right thing. And the majority of people want this, and every girl needs this.
How important is it, in your opinion, that like current athletes that are sort of cool, like Sophie Cunningham, are taking positions on this too? I mean, it's one thing for Martina Navratilova to talk about it and some of these, but I mean, for, girls that are involved in sports now in the primary grades in high school, even college, to see, it seems to me that I see like Sophie Cunningham, like maybe a few years ago was Riley Gaines, that sort of gives them courage to stand up and say what's true as well. Don't you think?
I think that's exactly what it is. They obviously didn't start this, battle to reclaim sex-based rights. There are feminists over the past decade that have been fighting it, like Martina. But having somebody like Sophie step up and say something, I think gives the cultural permission and the social permission for others to step up. And I think we're seeing a lot of that. The rallies that are happening now, or the celebrations that are happening before all of her games, people on social media, celebrities standing up and saying that they agree with this. I think the floodgates are starting to open around participation in culture, that this isn't 2020 or 2021, that people can come out and say the truth and not worry about, am I going to be outright canceled for this? No, this is a common sense position. I can be part of this and I can say something too. And I think that Sophie has given us sort of that cultural shot in the arm for others to come out and say something. And I think my hope is that other professional athletes do the same. And it's fantastic. We can argue whether or not their tact is great when you talk about Enes or Royce coming out. But I think also having males show up and do something about this is important. Girls have been fighting this battle. Girls have been asking for their sex-based rights to be respected and protected. And finally, we have, current WNBA all-star professional coming out and say something, but where are the rest of the men?
Yeah.
I see people like Urlacher saying something. He's fantastic, but he's retired. Where are the men that are actively playing right now that are willing to speak out on this issue? The entire NFL, any NFL player that is a dad should be out there speaking about this. I mean, it's wild that we continue to leave it to the girls to say something.
No, I agree. I mean, we talk about that all the time here. Where are the dads, not even the professional athletes, but just at the local level, where are dads there to protect your daughters in school? And that's what Leyland Strife is doing in Maine. Leyland Strife, founder of Maine Girl Dads and principal officer of the Protect Girls Sports in Maine Ballot Committee. Thanks so much for joining us. Good luck with the initiative in Maine. We'll be watching. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, sir.
And he joined us on the AlphaWealthGroup.com answer line.
It's like a hot, steaming cup of information to start your day. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
When you build a home for the next chapter of your life, you're not just choosing floor plans, finishes, and paint colors. You're making a decision about where your life continues after all the years you've worked so hard. At Steiner Homes, we understand that because we're a family business that's been building custom homes in Northwest Indiana for over 30 years. And for us, this isn't just a business, it's a calling. Every Steiner home is built with intention. No shortcuts, no compromises. Just craftsmanship you can see and quality you can feel. There's a reason more empty nesters are choosing Indiana. Lower taxes mean your money goes further. Safer communities mean real peace of mind. It's a place where neighbors still wave, families flourish, and you can finally put down roots that feel right. From the very first sketch to the final walkthrough, we treat every home like it's our own family moving in. If you're ready to build a home and right-size your life in a smarter, safer place, start with people who truly care. Steiner Homes of Northwest Indiana. Love where you live. Learn more at steinerhomesltd.com.
When your joints hurt every day and you've been told you need surgery, do your homework. Once the joint is replaced, there's no going back. Dan Proft here. Before you schedule surgery, get a second opinion from my friends at QC Kinetics. I personally recommend them. Whether you're dealing with pain from bone-on-bone arthritis, torn meniscus, or years of wear and tear, surgery isn't your only conversation. Talk to Dr. Caravelli and her team at QC Kinetics. They use regenerative treatments to deliver relief to patients like you. You'll start with a medical evaluation, reviewing your history, any imaging, and the actual source of the pain. If you're a good candidate, they'll concentrate tiny healing tools within your body right in the spot that's causing pain. The whole idea is to give you a real shot at holding off on surgery, or in some cases, avoiding it altogether. Don't accept surgery as your only option. Call QC Kinetics today for a second opinion. The conversation and consultation are free. Weekend appointments are available. Call 312-827-6261. Again, 312-827-6261. Once more, call QC Kinetics at 312-827-6261.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6745. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS.
Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start.
Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems.
We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau.
You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-6745. That's 800-575-6745. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
MyPillow is celebrating our country's 250th anniversary with savings up to 50% off their made-in-the-USA products. For example, get the queen size premium MyPillow for $18.98 and the king size for just $1 more. Get body pillows with a free pillowcase for only $39.98. Get the MyPillow mattress topper for as low as $99.99 and $80 off the MyCross. All made right here in the USA. But there is so much more. In fact, they have over 200 products. Go to MyPillow.com and use promo code Chicago or call 800-489-0201 to check out all of the great products they are offering. Get everything from MyPillow blankets, sleepwear, kitchen towels, mattresses, duvets, pet beds, comforters, couch pillows, bathrobes, and so much more. Go to MyPillow.com or call 800-489-0201 and use promo code Chicago to get deep discounts on all MyPillow products.
Each morning, the newsmakers and the newsbreakers shaping today's conversation are heard on the AlphaWealthGroup.com answer line on Chicago's Morning Answer. When you need answers about what's happening in your world, you turn to AM 560 The Answer. And when you need answers about how to prepare for and protect your retirement, you turn to the Alpha Wealth Group, now the proud sponsor of the AM 560 Answer line, right here on Chicago's source for news, opinion, and insight. AM 560 The Answer.
The following contains a celebrity impersonation.
Mr. President, we're seeing reporting that air conditioning systems are failing as temperatures rise. What is your response?
I said, don't wait. People wait until the last second, then suddenly it's hot and nothing works. I understand this stuff probably better than anybody.
Mr. President, why hasn't the White House issued any guidance?
I gave perfect guidance. Call Air Right Heating and Cooling. That's the guidance. If people followed it, we wouldn't even be talking about this.
Sir, but homeowners have so many HVAC options.
They're not like Air Right. You've got some bad installers out there, some real bad hombres. I wouldn't let them near the White House. It would be a complete disaster.
Mr. President, there are reports of significant rebates on new systems. Can you confirm?
I've heard about them. A lot of people talking about them. If you miss out, you'd have to be really not so smart. Tremendous savings, let me tell you.
Visit Air Right Heating and Cooling at AIR-RITE.com. Air Right. Doing it right since 1959.
AM 560. The Answer.
I wonder, has anybody taken a flight out of O'Hare that left on time this year, this calendar year? I'm not one of them, if you have. I'm supposed to be on a 10:30 flight that's already delayed to 1 o'clock. So, see you at the airport if you're traveling today. Coming up at 8:38, the honeymoon for Mamdani is over. We'll talk New York City and midterm elections with Michael Goodwin from the New York Post. 8:38, now we check the headlines.
8:33 in the QC Kinetics newsroom. 3 shot, 1 killed. While driving on Chicago's South Side this morning, the shooting happened around 3 a.m. near 71st and Champlain. A 54-year-old man shot in the head and back, rushed to the University of Chicago Trauma Center, where he later died. Crews continue assessing damage caused by storms that struck the Chicago area on Tuesday. Tornadoes touched down 5 times in Oswego, Wilmington, Mokina to Tinley Park, Orland Park to Munster, and Monee into St. John, Indiana, where Governor Mike Braun viewed all of the destruction yesterday.
All of our resources will be attentive. We were up here yesterday, and we will pour the coals to it to make sure that we get things back in order. Again, up here, it's going to be power restoration, a lot of cleanup. As you go south, it's going to be more involving damage from heavy rain.
Whole Foods is recalling dozens of items containing jalapenos in 12 states, including Wisconsin, Michigan, Illinois, Iowa, and Indiana. Social media going on trial. Jury selection is underway in California in a trial against Meta after a U.S. appeals court declined to dismiss thousands of online safety lawsuits. 2 U.S. soldiers are dead after a military helicopter out of Fort Hood crashed just north of Austin, Texas yesterday.
Not only a helicopter crash, but then also a wildfire that was out of control.
Local sheriff says the AH-64 Apache attack helicopter went down near the town of Salado. Winning ticket in Wednesday night's billion-dollar Powerball drawing sold right here in the state of Illinois. The massive jackpot has a cash value of more than $450 million, and apparently it's going to someone who lives near Quincy. The news is a service of Chicago Public Schools. This year, Dare to Dream Big with CPS. Grades K through 12 are back in class Monday, August 24. Learn more at cps.edu/B2S. Don't forget, CPS families ride free on the CTA and Metra on day 1, thanks to Butcher Boy Cooking Oils. A check of traffic and weather coming up next on AM 560.
Hugh Hewitt sees the Democrats sprinting left.
Abdul El-Sayed, arguably the most radical major party candidate in the history of the United States. I mean, we've had Gus Hall, an American communist, and we've had Eugene Debs, a socialist, run before. But I think Abdul El-Sayed is the most radical major party candidate for the United States Senate ever. The sprint of the Democratic Party over the left edge.
The Hugh Hewitt Show. Afternoons at 2, right before Alex Marlowe at 3 on AM 560. The Answer.
Are you turning 65 and thinking about Medicare? Or are you over 65 and haven't enrolled yet because you still have coverage at work? Either way, Medicare done correctly will be the best health insurance you will ever have. Imagine having an annual deductible of only $283. There are only 2 good things about aging. wisdom, and Medicare. But to navigate the Medicare maze properly, you need a mentor. Best part? My guidance costs you nothing. Call me. I can help.
If you're tired of calling a bureaucrat at an 800 number to help you navigate Medicare, then you need a local expert on your side. Your own health insurance mentor. C. Stephen Tucker from healthinsurancementors.com is someone I know and trust. He's a 30-year licensed broker who's been educating our listeners for more than a decade. Steve, how can our listeners get in touch with you?
Thanks, Dan. They can visit healthinsurancementors.com or call me directly at 630-674-1551. That's 630-674-1551.
Have you seen videos of Russian floating folk dancers?
Floating Russian huziwatsits?
They wear long dresses so you can't see their feet, so it looks like they're gliding on air.
I've seen those videos. Impressive.
That reminds me of the dining chairs with the Brody table.
The Brody table is my favorite table at Penny Mustard.
You know, the unique design kind of resembles one of those Russian dancers.
You're right.
And check out these upholstered caster dining chairs.
I don't see any casters.
Precisely. It looks like the chairs gliding in air. Here, I'll show you. I can glide over here.
Ooh, nice.
And I can glide over there.
Be careful.
And I can...
Watch out!
I never was a very good dancer.
The Brody table, paired with 4 caster dining chairs, starting at $64.22 at Penny Mustard.
Now open in Algonquin.
PennyMustard.com.
Better versions of what people want.
Penny Mustard Furnishing.
Each morning, the newsmakers and the news breakers shaping today's conversation are heard on the AlphaWealthGroup.com answer line on Chicago's Morning Answer. When you need answers about what's happening in your world, you turn to AM 560 The Answer. And when you need answers about how to prepare for and protect your retirement, you turn to the Alpha Wealth Group, now the proud sponsor of the AM 560 Answer line, right here on Chicago's source for news, opinion, and insight. AM 560 The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Goldilocks, offering smart security systems to homes and businesses. Call Goldilocks at 708-889-5600.
Traffic center time. Accidents cropping up. Morton Grove, Dempster and Central, Elgin, accident with injuries, Summit and Shales Parkway. Homewood, accident Dixie Highway and Ridge. I-94 in northwest Indiana jamming up eastbound between the Chesterton Way Station to right before US 421. That's a big delay. Roadwork problems on Route 53 northbound between the Ike and Kirchhoff. Slowdowns this morning on the Dan Ryan, especially on the inbound side between 51st and 18th. And you have a disabled semi on the Ike. It's on the outbound side right near St. Charles in the construction zone. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. After we check the morning forecast in our Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center, a humid day, fog lifting late this morning into early afternoon, another chance at heavy rain, maybe a thunderstorm, and a high of 81.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from The Signature, a division of Esquire Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here, and Abdul Rahman El Sharia. Duh, get that name out your mouth. No, I don't want to. Is he going to have, or maybe he's already had, a Sister Souljah moment? People old enough to remember Sister Souljah? Remember when she said during the LA riots back in 92 that in advance of the Gingrich Revolution in 94, that, if blacks can kill blacks all year round, this words to this effect, I'm not quoting her, but it's close. If black can kill blacks all year round, why can't they take a white week off and kill whites? Sort of the racial politics that has unfortunately beset the nation well before that and ever since the rise of the identitarians. If he is going to have a Sister Souljah moment, El Sharia there in Michigan, which I know the bar is high because I can't believe some of the things that are said by people like him and Hassan Piker and Francesca Hong that, barely register. But maybe his comparisons to American-style football, as he might call it, maybe this would be it. Even worse than his abhorrence at the thought of celebrating Independence Day, El Sayed on football.
You think about all the wars that we fight abroad, all of the sordid history of oppressing other people in the name of this American idea, right? Whether it was, quote, manifest destiny and destroying Native Americans, or it was the transatlantic slave trade where, folks who, quote, founded this country on the backs of Native folks that they destroyed, then captured people, enslaved them, and had them work their fields because they thought it was their right? And all of this, like a lot of these narratives, you kind of see echoed in the ethos of football.
You see these narratives echoed in the ethos of football. The ethos of football is what animated the transatlantic slave trade, manifest destiny, and all of America's other alleged crimes against humanity. All of this sort of anti-American neo-colonial rap that Pauls like and Islamists, because that's what he is, Sharia law enthusiasts like El Sayed. These are the yarns they spin. I mean, would it be that, or would it be something that his streamer bestie Hassan Piker has said? I mean, I don't know.
I wipe my ass with the American flag.
Hell yeah.
As a communicator, especially as a communicator that is in the United States of America, I understand the utter moral depravity of the average American. In order to make a more convincing argument, I always try to message to the room that I'm speaking to, if that makes sense.
Can't wait to see Hassan Piker back out on the campaign trail.
Hezbollah is a paramilitary organization.
Do we like them or no?
I don't have an issue with them, let's just say. But they are a terrorist organization.
Yeah, a terrorist organization, but I mean, no issue, because of course America deserved 9/11. That's Hassan Piker's view, as adopted by El Sayed as well.
Kill them. Kill those motherfuckers and murder those motherfuckers in the street. Let the streets soak in their red capitalist bloods, dude.
Purge of the small business entrepreneur. The free enterprise guy in America. I mean, those don't seem to have registered, at least not to this point. Maybe they'll be treated differently from a general electorate audience than they were treated by the primary electorate in Michigan, for example. For more on this and other matters, Michael Goodwin joins us. Of course, Michael Goodwin, New York Post columnist. Michael, thanks for being with us again. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Dan.
So do you think should, meaning the Republican Party, make this election basically a referendum on Islamist statewide candidates like El Sayed as representative of that DSA party?
Well, I think the point you made about Sister Soldier moment, why we remember that in history is because Bill Clinton, sort of the leader of the Democratic Party and wanting to be president, said that's no good, that's not right. He scolded her.
Right.
And where is it a Democrat today who will do that about the Hassan Pikers, the Al Sayeds, the Mamdani, right? We're not hearing that from the Democratic Party, which is why it's been colonized by these people, because the Democratic leaders are afraid of them. Chuck Schumer, Hakeem Jeffries, they are afraid of this radical element in their own party, and so they won't speak against it. They'll kind of nod their head and smile and say, well, at least they're a Democrat, and maybe I can be majority leader that way, or I can be speaker. And I think in New York, Kathy Hochul, the governor, running for re-election, is counting on those votes. So she dare not criticize anything on the extreme left. That, to me, is the answer to this problem. Of course, Republicans and sane citizens of all stripes have to respond to this ridiculous hate America, hate Jews nonsense. But I think what's missing from the picture is a Democratic leadership taking it on and calling it what it is.
Yeah, no, I mean, instead you're getting these tepid sort of we're a Big Ten party type comments. But I mean, that doesn't really fly, and you can't outsource the denunciations to Bill Maher or John Fetterman. That's just not going to be good enough if Republicans play these cards correctly, it seems to me.
Yes, I think that's correct. And we saw, of course, Michigan was sort of the case where if you don't come back at it, this is what you get as your nominee. So I think that's one example. And yet, I think there are others. Hong losing is a good sign that when sort of sane people, even if we don't agree with some of their politics, at least they're fundamentally sane about the country. When they come together and unite behind it, an alternative, you get someone like Crowley being the nominee. So I think there is some sign, but we still have not heard it from the Democratic leadership, certainly not in New York, and certainly, I believe, not nationally. We've heard pockets of it. And so maybe the Hong defeat will be kind of a rallying cry for people that we don't have to put up with this. We can defeat this.
This week in New York, a woman named Tracy Rosenthal has risen to some prominence, sort of a even more antagonistic version of C. Weaver, the housing person that Mamdani minted, who doesn't believe in private property, basically. Tracy Rosenthal, who is a dilettante who comes from a wealthy family her dad was like a Grammy-winning music producer. She wants to live rent-free, and she wants everybody else to live rent-free as well, and this is the strategy.
My question is, it's hard to imagine not paying rent. Do you have any ideas about what it would look like? So good. Do you have any ideas about what it would look like if a lot of people, not just a few things, but if a lot of people were not paying rent?
I mean, I think that part of what you're talking about is a long-term strategy to creating the kind of scale of crisis that we would need in order to extract any of the concessions that would like save our lives, you know. And so I think that, but I think that, you know, on the one hand, it's like I admit that I am a romantic, and I can sit here and say like, yeah, we need a general rent strike, right? Like that, you know, we describe, right? Like one way of thinking about abolishing rent is a permanent and general rent strike.
And she goes on, of course, to talk about the tenant associations that you stand up that do individual rent strikes, and then at some point you reach critical mass for a general rent strike, and then you seize everybody's private property, and then you live rent free. And I know it sounds fanciful and silly, but so did, you know, the idea of electing an Islamist to be mayor of New York 25 years after 9/11.
Look, she is one of the loons who has come in on this tide, right? She's ridden this tide into the government. And that's why I think it's important that people who think this stuff is nuts and crazy need to speak up. And so here we have in the capital of capitalism, New York City, we have people like that calling for rent strikes, essentially saying free housing for everybody. You have Mamdani, let's tax the rich until it hurts. Let's effectively drive them out. This is now, as we have all seen across the country, a rising tide on the far, far left. And one election at a time, I'm hoping that Democrats will stand up against this, call it for what it is. But in the meantime, the Republicans, the independents, people in the media, such as ourselves, we have to do what we can to point out the foolishness of this and the historic comparisons. I mean, this is how Cuba went broke, right? This is how the Soviet Union collapsed. It's how East Germany collapsed. All the examples throughout history. And, of course, what it led to Mao Zedong killing millions of people in China. So the collapse of freedom, the collapse of private enterprise. And we have in our country a regulated capitalism. But the emphasis is on capitalism. The regulation is not the be-all and end-all. It is a feature of our capitalist economy, but it is why we have the best economy, why so many people have a high standard of living. That's been true in America for 50, 60, 70 years, much greater than the world as a whole. Is that just an accident? Is that because we're all barbarians? Or is it we have better ideas, a better system?
Yeah, right. Actually, the academic Richard Hanania made the point. The fact that the U.S. is responsible for the vast majority of the world's medical breakthroughs should basically end the socialized medicine debate and the socialism debate more generally, because the lesson generalizes, as you were just describing. But that argument needs to be made relentlessly about the free enterprise system by Republicans in the face of, this movement, as you were describing. And I wonder if there's been some reporting, and I'm always a little bit skeptical of these declarations, that, the honeymoon is over for Ramdani in New York City because of this sort of ham-handed rollout of the pied-à-terre tax. I'm not sure that's the case, but you're closer to it than I am.
I would agree with you. That was a headline in the Wall Street Journal, and I thought, let me read this and see if there's something I don't know. That they have something, but it's not there. That's kind of wishful thinking.
Yeah.
I think it will take time. He has made a lot of news. I think he's made some big mistakes that could be the seed of the ending of the honeymoon. But as you mentioned, that woman, his housing, Laura, those people are still out there. They're doing this, and he's not stopping them. He hasn't pulled back from anything. He is only speaking to his supporters. He's not addressing the city as a whole. I mean, he got a little more than 50% of the vote when he won. Now, there was a big field running against him, but he got by far the largest single tally of votes, and it was slightly over a majority. But I think there are a lot of people in New York who don't vote, who didn't vote. So I think he has to begin to speak to his detractors and those who didn't support him. That's when a politician trying to sort of shifts gears into becoming a real leader and not just a campaigner. I think he's still in campaign mode.
Michael Goodwin, New York Post columnist. Michael, thank you as always. Appreciate your time.
My pleasure.
Michael joined us on the alphawealthgroup.com answer line.
There's only one radio show in Chicago talking about today's biggest stories and telling you what they really mean. That show is this one, Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
You've worked hard for everything you have, your home, your investments, your real estate. When you're gone, someone has to manage it. Choosing the right trustee or executor is one of the most important decisions you'll make.
We kept putting it off. We figured our oldest would handle everything.
Then we thought, what if something happens to him?
Or what if the kids can't agree? We've seen money tear families apart.
We called Home State Bank, and I wish we'd done it sooner. Home State Bank serves as trustee or executor for families across Northern Illinois, stepping in as the professional, impartial manager of your estate so your family doesn't have to carry that burden. They don't take sides, and they'll carry out your wishes exactly as you intended. Take the first step today by calling 815-459-2000 to meet with a trust officer face-to-face. Again, that's 815-459-2000. Home State Bank. Hometown professionals working together to build a stronger community since 1915.
Do you owe $10,000 or more to the IRS like Mark?
I've been doing home remodeling for 30 plus years, but the economy crashed. I wound up losing my home, losing my job, and on top of that, owing the IRS a ton of money. I owed the IRS $114,000. It really, truly was the worst part of my life.
Then Mark found tax relief advocates.
On news radio, I heard about TRA, and I thought, what's the worst that could happen? So I picked up the phone and I called them. When it was all said and done, TRA settled my $114,000 debt for $100, and I'm telling you, I was ecstatic. Could not believe it. Would recommend TRA to anyone.
If you owe 10 or even hundreds of thousands of dollars to the IRS, don't lose hope. Do what Mark did and call TRA for a consultation.
But TRA did. They gave me a second chance, and I'm forever grateful.
Visit TRA.com or call 800-575-8924. 800-575-8924. That's 800-575-8924.
Foundations of Freedom, a look at America's founding principles and the leaders who shaped our nation.
In 1783, the Revolutionary War was nearly over, but America's future remained uncertain. Officers in the Continental Army were angry. Congress had failed to provide promised pay, and some considered using the Army's power to force the government's hand. George Washington understood their frustration, but he also knew the liberty they had fought to win could be destroyed by the very army that secured it. Washington confronted his officers and urged them to choose honor, patience, and loyalty to the Republic over rebellion. He could have used their anger to increase his own power. Instead, he used his influence to restrain it. Power asks what it can take. Character asks what duty requires. Washington's lesson still stands. Freedom survives when leaders place principle above ambition and remain faithful to God, country, and the people they serve.
Signature, a division of Esquire Bank, offers Chicago businesses relationship-first banking. Signature knows your name and your story because personalized banking still matters. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature is where I do my business banking.
Hi, I'm Phil Silverman, CFO of Chicago Atlantic and a client of Signature. We provide capital solutions in markets where risk is often fundamentally mispriced and traditional financing can be limited. Ahead of an important and complex transaction closing, Signature promptly assisted us in addressing a wire issue through their monitoring and verbal verification process, helping us administer the closing on time while maintaining best-in-class control oversight. That kind of hands-on attention is hard to find, and that's why we value our relationship with Signature.
Signature helps local businesses succeed. Want to learn how Signature can help turn your business vision into reality? Call Signature, a division of Esquire Bank, at 773-467-5600 or visit signature.esquirebank.com. Esquire Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
AM 560, The Answer.
Maybe since my flight's delayed, I'll go to Voodoo Station and get my feet washed. You know, sort of an interfaith offering at O'Hare. All right, I'm off tomorrow. I'm back sometime next week, hopefully not in a pine box. I'm doing a rafting trip on the Colorado River in the Grand Canyon, which is one standard deviation from the kind of stuff I normally do. You're supposed to relax on vacation, but I'm going to challenge myself a little bit. Thanks for joining us on another edition of Chicago's Morning Answer. Somebody's in for me tomorrow, and then I'm back in for myself midweek next week. Have a good weekend, since I won't be talking to you. I'll be off the grid. More wit and wisdom from my subs tomorrow. It's now 9 o'clock on AM 560 WIND Chicago.
Drama in the West Bank. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. Israel's military has relocated